the intro. We sit a little bit, make sure everything's set up, tweet it out, and then we start the intro.
Right.
And I have to start recording as well as soon as we're live. Okay, apparently we're live.
Yay!
Hey, we're live. We're live. Cool. Mute that before it comes over.
Oh Lord.
Excellent.
Oh Lord.
Copy. It's happening.
It's happening. It's on.
Switch to the red spot.
I can mute myself.
Nice.
Hey, so what's up, world? Welcome to Rapid Unscheduled Discussion. I will get that right.
Disassembly discussions. We have 2Ds. We should just change it to have 2Ds. This is
for our show. It's the show where we talk about everything spaceflight related, but with the 2-drink minimum. My name's Daryl Sausse, coming to you live from Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville in Biloxi Beach. Why? Because I am avoiding Mardi Gras like a good New Orleanian. Joining me, the good old Seth Kurkowski. Seth, say hi to the world.
Hey, how's it going? I'm Seth, co-founder of Space Coast Launch Ambassadors and Space Geek, and I'm here with this is our first episode with a guest, as you guys can already see. He is photographer for Next Horizon Spaceflight, co-host of Pressing for Flight, average tweeter, John Van Horn lookalike, Mr. Stephen Marr.
Yay! Hello, everyone. How's everybody doing tonight?
So, Stephen, what are you drinking?
I have a fine Pilsner. It says so right on the can. It is a Miller Light. Going that Miller Heavy. I don't think Miller Heavy even exists.
I'm very proud of it. Being someone from Milwaukee, I am very happy about that.
I don't think there's a Miller Heavy anymore.
There used to be Miller Genuine Draft.
MGD, yeah. Do they still do MGD?
I don't know. I used to be a NASCAR fan, and when I first started watching NASCAR, that was the sponsor for Rusty Wallace, old number 2. And now he doesn't race anymore, but he does have like 5 car dealerships where I'm from, up in East Tennessee and around that area. Yeah, it's like Rusty Wallace, all kind of Tennessee, North Carolina area.
Dang.
But you didn't know that.
Nope. Seth, what are you drinking?
I have a little. It's a slight change. Usually I drink Jack and Cokes, but now I'm drinking Jack Daniel's Southern Peach mixer or something. And honestly, it's delicious.
Is it just the mixer?
Oh no, the Jack, like I was expecting it to taste like screwdrivers, but like when I have a screwdriver, it's just I don't really taste the vodka in it or whatever. Like it's just whatever. And then I was just expecting to taste peach. Like you start off with the peach, and all of a sudden you're like, oh yep, there's the whiskey. It's there.
Right. But it's still basically straight mixer. It's like if I came on the show one day drinking a bottle of just Zing Zang, like the Bloody Mary mix. One day I'm gonna do it and see if anybody calls me out on it. That'll be like way later down the road. But I'm gonna try and sneak it in there. One of those days when I'm having a bad day. But that's not today. Today, I'm in Margaritaville. And Seth just said it in our pregame. He said, if you have anything but a margarita, I'm like, dude, come on. I got salt and everything.
Now, the Southern Peach has, 4.8% alcohol by volume. So I'm not sure what, I never remember what.
That's a lot. Yeah. That's powerful. You want to be careful with that.
Yeah.
And also, it tastes like nothing. It literally just tastes like peach.
One of these days, we're going to have to do an episode where we get something insanely powerful, like Wild Turkey 101 or something like that.
Oh, no, moonshine. Moonshine.
Ooh.
Just buy moonshine, because they have legal moonshine out there. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, actually.
If that's the case, let's just go with Everclear.
Oh, God.
Just do that.
Lemon drops?
And it doesn't taste good. Yeah, they have, there's Smoky Mountain Moonshine up there from where I'm from. And actually, I was living there when they initially legalized moonshine. And now it kind of became, it's like commercial. It's not like I still don't think it's legal to like make moonshine up in the hill. But I guess they allowed some of those people that had been doing it for generations to kind of legitimize and make it a real business, and so that's how you have like Smoky Mountain Moonshine. I'm sure there's others, but they have some really
Smoky
good
Mountain's pretty good. I've had Smoky Mountain, the bar I used to work at. They're pretty good.
Jeff Barrett said beers in Canada are 5%.
Yeah.
Transplant said, "I'm drinking Mountain Dew, yo."
Hey man, Mountain Dew's great. I love Mountain Dew.
Ain't no shame.
Oh, jacked up on Mountain Dew.
That was me, dude. That was me in middle school and high school, bro.
Oh,
Mountain Dew and Doritos,
I feel
grinding
like
out my Call of
that
Duty.
that was all of the kids in Daytona last weekend for the 500, which tripped me up on my travel. Dude,
Dude, everyone forgot about it. Everyone traveling, I'm like, guys, don't you know? Like, you're coming to Florida, you gotta know when NASCAR events are. Like,
Right.
like Tim Dodd had the same issue. He's like, why is it so expensive right now? Like all up the coast and even in Orlando, it's like several $100s a night for a hotel. And I'm like, Daytona 500.
It's about to stay expensive because spring break is coming, y'all.
Yeah, now you got spring break.
And bike week is like next week, not this coming weekend, but next, I think, is when it starts.
And then there's
bike week kind of kicks off spring break, and then it's just tourist season until September.
And I don't know how popular it is, but there's also, is that called Aero Week? I think it's called. That's in near Orlando. It's an air show.
Air Week.
Air Week, not Aero Week. The company I work for, the app we work on, is called Aero App.
Oh.
So I went to and there is an Aero Week, and that's mostly for government, but not public. But yeah, there's Air Week, which I'm not sure how popular that is, but
well, hopefully that's not an issue next week for when I come by for CRS 20 and maybe a Starlink. We don't know. But
never know.
There's rumbles. Yeah. There are rumbles.
But
rumbles.
Steven, well, I don't know, Steven, you'll be there, but Daryl reminded me. Well, he was like, dude, SciComm, was it SciComm or SciComm? SciComm? SciComm 1B. And he's like, you gotta be there. I'm like, oh, I told you. I told you my 3 launches I'm going to. Dude, it's gonna be sick.
Dude, that's gonna be a good launch to watch from Cocoa Beach because it's gonna come towards you. Like I live in Cocoa Beach and I usually go somewhere else, try to get closer or whatever. But like, I was kind of thinking about shooting that one from the beach because it's gonna come up and over you.
And I was thinking about doing it in actually West Palm.
Oh really? Yeah.
Because it's only
going south. It's
40 minutes away. It's gonna come to me. But I looked at streaks on Flight Hub from north of the pad, and that's gonna be a funky looking streak.
Oh really?
It's gonna go up and then it's gonna go back down and then it's gonna go like out. Like it's gonna do like a little bit like it's gonna look like a math graph from like some cosine of something. Like it's gonna be so weird. It's gonna be so weird.
Here's the other crazy thing about the Salcom. Saying it right, Salcom, whatever. The Salcom 1B launch. It's a RTLS at sunset.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, it's it's at 7:30ish right now.
7:30.
That date and time are completely. We still have a month out, so that date and time is
of course
is probably going to get pushed back another couple of days. I just hope it gets pushed back later rather than earlier. So
I like the time it's at because I say it's a sunset launch in RTLS, but really it's after the sun is below the horizon. So really it's a golden hour launch and landing.
Man, that would just be so cool.
I hear the sound effects. Somebody else is excited.
I think Steven just had some weird feelings for that launch.
Steven just had something rapid and unscheduled.
Dude, I was drinking when you said that. I almost spit up over my.
Yeah, gotcha.
Oh, dude, I almost had a spit take.
Things I didn't realize. Okay, so that's the one that's like at the end of April, right? I think right now the
March 30th.
March
30th.
March. Okay, what am I thinking of? EHF 6?
Maybe.
Okay, so that's at the end of the month. Okay, so if it stays something right now, isn't it
7:30? 7:30 something.
Okay, so we're
I'm like, I think I'm coming up for that one now.
What kind of awesome things you'll see, because it'll be up in the twilight and
I'm really hoping it goes
the little puffs of the cold gas thrusters doing their little thing.
And it's gonna be interesting because it's gonna be like, I really hope it. We don't know how the trajectory is really gonna look.
Yeah.
Because we have an idea, but we don't really know. I hope it goes further. I wish it does a little twist. Like I really hope it, like from a certain perspective, it twists. I looked at Playa Linda and it doesn't connect. It's still on the right. Like it still doesn't twist at all, because it looks like it goes like, it's gonna look like it goes straight up and then just makes a turn. Like it's kind of what it looks like. It goes straight up and then like sideways and then down and then sideways again.
Yeah, I heard it's gonna kind of like jog offshore. Not gonna do a hard turn offshore. It's off offshore and then start going south.
Let me pull up.
Like goes.
No idea. That's gonna be so weird.
We'll see.
Okay. So,
Everybody's freaking out. Like, what are we gonna do? But yeah, that's the that's right now we got a Sierra start here. But that's South.
How do you spell that? S-A-O? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, SAOCON.
Come on.
So,
I'm trying to like look up on Flight Club.
That's what I'm doing right now. I have it up. I just have. Okay, hold up.
Since they updated it, and I'm like, okay, wait,
Right,
where's everything at?
I got it.
I barely touched it myself.
Let me just share my screen for you.
Okay, if you've already got it, yeah.
Start sharing. I'm looking from US 1.
Okay.
Let me go to Streamlabs. Let me switch over to my screen. Everyone's there. Good. Okay, here's mine. Do you guys all see it?
Yep.
What's your focal length? Oh,
there we go.
All right.
It's gonna be some funky looking little thing right
Oh.
here.
What is your focal? What the heck?
But you know what? Most of that curve is gonna be like second stage flight.
Yeah, that's gonna be second stage. But
so, man,
it's still gonna look a little. You're still gonna see it though. Yeah, that's second.
No, the green line.
That little brick right there.
Yeah, you have the break right there. That's Miko, and then that's
second stage.
Yeah, this is
Right,
second
Green line
stage.
is second stage.
We don't have a green line.
No, it's just the green line coming down. That's first stage landing, and then red line. That's just engine fire.
This is what it will look like at Coco. It's gonna be straight up, and then just gonna go right up. Like I really don't think
Streak your head.
it's gonna look really cool if you don't do a streak. But photography wise, it's not gonna be cool. Like, because you're gonna have it right over you. This is gonna be interesting to see. It's going up and then turning. But
what's your camera setting?
I have a 1.6.
Okay, same as me. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, do that. Try it. Just do it 8, just for my enjoyment. 8mm.
Wow, we're looking at 8 now. Ooh.
I actually looked at almost getting an 8mm.
Dude, I love it. I feel like my combination with the crop sensor and the 8mm is good for streaks.
How much distortion?
It's pretty heavy. But if you align the center with the horizon, then it doesn't really show up, except unless you've got something obviously off to the sides, then you can kind of see that warping, and you can take some of that out with Lightroom, with the lens adjustments and stuff. But I just love the way it makes the streak look, and you can basically be as close as you want and still get it. You almost never have to worry about it going out of frame.
My 10mm almost has none.
No warping, really?
Yeah, almost none. I have nothing that I can see after taking a picture. Maybe if there's like a straight line at the edge, you might be able to see it, but I almost never have that. I usually never have straight lines.
I'll have like a dock or like some kind of railing, like to the
Let me see.
on the kind of on the edge of the frame, and you can kind of see the warping there.
Let me see if I can get latitude and longitude. Here, let's do Google Maps. See if I can get some other locations like it loads.
You're gonna have to go pretty far to get something.
Not
like,
more US.
From
this is from Cocoa Beach. Hold up. Let's go. Yeah, you're gonna have to go north of the launch pad to get the whole thing. Let's go.
They're off to the west.
Let's go north side. So the Gemini side, I think. Yeah, the Gemini side of Spaceview Park. Oh God. Copy.
We're going streak on that one.
Yeah, I know. It's like, and just devote your camera to just get shots of it going overhead.
This will be north of north. So Spaceview Park.
It's just the only thing, and
this is at 8 as well. So
you can't really know until it's done. But if you know what, you'll be shooting for the landing, so you'll still be exposing,
Yeah.
and
It'll be a
You're gonna
9-minute
get the
exposure.
second stage.
you'll get it. It'll just be faint because it's going to be out of the atmosphere by that point, so there's not going to be much light coming from it.
Yeah,
Right.
you might get this little bend, which is what the cool part is. Maybe not seeing it down on the tail end of it, but like kind of seeing like the bend would probably be the cool part.
Right.
And then definitely re-entry, which would be kind of coming like right about here.
Mm-hmm.
Declan hasn't updated his thing yet. I'm disappointed.
Yeah.
Very disappointed.
He's been playing Kerbal.
Yeah.
That is true. He has been playing Kerbal. All right.
On an Xbox of all things. I mean,
dude, that's how I play. I've never even played on PC.
PC's great, dude.
PC's you're missing out on PC.
I'm sure.
Even if you're not using mods, controlling it is so much easier on PC.
You can buy Kerbal controllers, like Kerbal keyboards. They have all the different buttons. You have a big red abort button. Like, it's great. It looks like a console from like Mission Control.
I need a staging button that has like a guard on it because my that way too many times on accident.
Yep.
Like who hasn't? But
yeah, exactly.
Or messed up all your staging.
Xbox, it's the A button on Xbox.
That's just as bad. That is just as bad. That really is just as bad.
So we should probably get into some news, eh?
Hey.
Yeah. Let's roll through it.
Yeah, so starting, we can talk the first one, ULA. I'm super excited about this rocket, to be honest.
Yes.
You guys all see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, so ULA did a test with a mass simulator of their Vulcan rocket on Slick 41. So they hosted it up because
mass simulator or Pathfinder.
They just said mass simulator.
They said it.
Yeah, they said mass simulator. It might have been a Pathfinder mass simulator. It's still mass simulator. That's what Pathfinder. Well, Pathfinder is that's a mock-up. But no, this is, as you can see the video, this is most definitely not a Pathfinder like mock-up. This is strictly the mass of an unloaded Vulcan rocket, which I am super excited about the Vulcan rocket. Like, because it's replacing. Awesome, I think it's going to be the most capable rocket. Because it's going to be. Well, it has the not capable of over. It's replacing the Atlas V and the Delta IV. It's replacing the Delta IV Heavy.
Yep.
Right. It's going to have.
What's the most boosters that they can put on it?
Oh, is it 8?
Like, okay, I was going to say 7 or 8.
Vulcan,
yeah.
How curable?
With that 4 in the middle of those boosters, and that's just going to be so cool looking.
And the fact that it has a center upper stage, so it's going to be.
Yeah.
It's going to be a great efficient for solar system, like interstellar launches, because that's one thing that SpaceX can't do. I mean, they can use it.
Out here. I know that everyone celebrates the Centaur upper stage. What is so special about it?
It's extremely efficient. So it's I believe it's hydrolox.
Oh, is it?
I believe it's hydrolox. Which is a very
old. It's got a history to it.
Yeah, it's older than ULA. It's older than the Atlas. It's older than Delta. It's older than the space shuttle. Like it's older than Apollo. It was used.
Older than me.
It's older than all of us combined, almost. I think. Because it was used.
Well, I don't know that.
Because didn't they use the Centaur upper stage for Gemini rendezvous? Wasn't it a? It was a. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was a Agena. No, that was a Agena. That was a Agena.
That was Atlas Agena, yeah.
Atlas Agena. But Atlas Agena and Atlas Centaur were the 2 upper stages that they were competing. No, maybe it was Titan Centaur, I think. No. Those Atlas Centaurs before that. But no, it's super efficient. It's extremely efficient. So it's the one thing that can get you very easily out of Earth's gravity, on a solar orbit. SpaceX can do it.
Centaur was the first rocket stage to use liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen propellants, high energy. Okay, used on Atlas V. Okay, that's not really helping. Oh wait. Oh, I think we have something.
Let's see if there's a Centaur 5.
On May 8th, 1962, the first Centaur rose, a perfect launch for the first 54 seconds. Then the Centaur upper stage exploded. Oh.
I think that might be one of its only fails. I'll be honest with you. I don't think it's failed that often. It really hasn't failed that often. It's very efficient. It's very reliable as well.
You mean the Centaur itself failing?
The
not
Centaur
the
itself.
First stage. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Centaur.
I think that's one of the only ones. It might have happened a few. Oh no, there's a few mishaps.
Because I actually learned an interesting fact last night, piddling around on one of the Facebook shitposting groups, that in the movie The Martian, they used footage from a relatively recent Atlas launch, but for when that rocket actually broke up, when they were trying to send extra food to Watney on Mars, that was from like a Delta back in '86. That was one of 3 failures in 1986. We actually know what one of them was. There was this one, and then there was a third one, all out of Florida. That was a bad year for spaceflight. But yeah, that's where that came from. I actually went back and looked it up. It was for a GOES-G weather satellite, and you look at it, the way it spins out of control and whatnot, lines up to what you see in the movie. So, fun fact, kids, take that home.
That's kind of like not that long ago, the 2014, 2015 time frame when we had a SpaceX CRS-7 blew up, but before that it was the orbital ATK Antares.
Antares. Cygnus.
Antares with Cygnus. Yeah. And was it before or after? I can't remember what the timeline was, but the Russians blew one up too, or it made it part of the way and then went all crazy and walked.
Here's a good comparison.
That was that Proton launch.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, I love that one.
Here's a good comparison against.
It was 3 resupply failures in a row, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was 3 in a row. There wasn't even a successful one in the middle. I'm pretty sure it was 3
in a row.
Bam.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
Here's specific impulse of the vacuum Merlin engine is where is it? 311 seconds. 311.
Okay.
Centaur 450.
Oh.
Dang.
It's very, very efficient. And
cool.
You can launch interplanetary missions using a 4 what did Solar Orbiter have? A 411, right?
Yeah, it was just one booster.
Yeah, you can launch interplanetary with a 411. One of the smallest. Yeah,
that's insane.
With a kick stage.
Surprised by that. Yeah.
But Insight also did the same thing on the 411. I think.
All right. Talking about Solar Orbiter for a second, let's derail here because that's what we do on this show.
Yes.
I actually got into a Twitter discussion, air quotes, during the NASA webcast, which nobody liked because they talked way too damn much, and I agree. But they were talking about the Centaur upper stage, referring specifically to Atlas. No. Now, they said it will never fly in the single Centaur configuration again on Atlas. It will always be dual from now on. Did anyone else catch that? Did I hear
I did not catch that. I missed that one.
No.
I wasn't listening to the webcast.
Yeah,
I wasn't listening either.
I was there paying attention, trying to get my webcast started, and that was a failure of a launch for me. That was a horrible launch.
Failure of a launch for you. I was all the way up in Maryland after a scrub on the Antares.
Oh
yeah. Let's not talk about how bad your trip was.
You never did get to see it, did you?
Nope. I walked away from it a week later to get down for Starlink, which ended up pushing back another 2 days anyway. But hey, that's life chasing launches. But yeah, I had to go back and double check it a couple of times. I'm pretty sure, if I understand it correctly, now they were just babbling on and on, but they said on an Atlas specifically. Now it may vary for a Delta or something like that, but the Centaur upper stage will never fly in a single engine configuration again on an Atlas.
They're launching the AHF 6 is going to be on a 511. Sorry, a 551.
Exactly.
So they might have. I don't know.
You're still sharing your screen, by the way.
Oh, I am. My bad.
It's all good.
It's all good. Not that big of a deal. But yeah,
we've been and it's cool.
Yeah, no. So here's Mars Insight launched on a 401. 401 got them to Mars. I mean, obviously, of course, a car is heavier, but you need to use a Delta. I don't think you can launch interplanetary on a Falcon 9. I think you might need a Falcon Heavy.
No, it really depends on what you're launching. I mean,
yeah, highly depends.
Look at what Rocket Lab is sending to the moon for NASA. It's a 50-pound it's a 50-pound payload, but it's getting to the moon.
But I think the main issue is that the Merlin's too powerful. You can't deep throttle as much as it is an issue. It's too powerful because it has to be in. It's in the atmosphere much longer. The Centaur, that's why you have such a steep trajectory for the Atlas. It's because you need to get that Centaur out of the atmosphere as quickly as possible. So it's not as so it can just turn sideways, just go like Kerbal. You just go straight up, and then once you're out, you just turn sideways and go.
With Falcon, big, go home, or in the case of the last Starlink, go in the water.
Okay. ED88. By the way, Ed 8855. He said he heard that too about the Atlas no longer being in the.
Thank you. I'm not the only
so you're not crazy. You're not actually crazy.
So speaking of the Falcon 9s and the last Starlink, shall we move on?
Yeah, sure.
Oh boy, the hits just keep on coming from that Starlink launch.
Yeah, let me show the picture.
That booster went a drink. The fleet came back, and the fairings were fished out the water. But the reason, apparently, that we never heard about what happened with the fairings is because not only were they not caught, they're cracked like an egg. Both halves too. It's tough to tell what actually happened with these. I saw a lot of speculation. Maybe they collided in the air on the way down.
I don't think that's the issue. I really don't. I think it's a freak accident of one getting damaged while being recovered, and then one getting damaged while landing. Because there's no way they're gonna get. Because if they cracked hit midair, they wouldn't have recovered all the pieces. If you look,
they have the pieces.
They have a lot of the pieces. So they cracked in midair. That piece would have been. They wouldn't have found that piece. It would have been miles and miles away, especially if they would have hit after separation.
I
can't imagine that they collided.
No.
So I mean, that'd be amazing. I guess if somehow they came in not facing the right direction into the atmosphere, and they kind of, maybe if they weren't, oriented the right way, bowl side down.
Yeah.
Maybe, and then of course, the parachute deploys and it's all messed up.
But they wouldn't have recovered the front part of the more larger damaged one. My theory is that the larger one, the one that had more damage, came into the water and just hit on that front part too rough and just broke it. Maybe or something, hit a wave just right, or just came at the wrong angle and broke. And the other one, might have just got damaged while recovery, because it doesn't look like it's that big of a damage. It looks like it got hit by the side of the boat. The arm or the side of the boat.
The parachute got tangled up in one of the arms.
Yeah.
Maybe that's one. Maybe
because look, actually, you can see it on this one. You can see that dangling down. But somebody, I think it was Kyle. If you want to look up Kyle Montgomery, he got some shots of some of the lines from the parachutes being tangled up in the corner. Yeah, it shouldn't be. There you go, right there.
This one.
That's it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it does look like. So maybe it got which this is the one that got hit and has the damage on the side, the lightly damaged one. I think so.
Not sure.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like. And if it is, then maybe that would just hit the side of the boat or hit the arm just right. But because that's a very specific point of damage. The other one seems more kind of
like a chunk.
That looks more like a very specific thing happened to it. The other one just looks like it was catastrophic, like something very bad happened.
Dude, what if they have little pressure tanks on there, right? For they have little thrusters, right? So maybe if one of those blew up.
Oh, ruptured?
Yeah.
Maybe.
And just blew that side off.
That also would not be good.
This is all speculation, people.
I'm just saying, do we know?
And here's something else to speculate on. Why even recover those? As damaged as they are? I mean, even if I'm SpaceX reusing my own stuff, I'd be like, I kind of don't want to use those. I really don't trust those. No matter how much you try and scrap out of it, just making a new pair for yourself and going.
Yeah, but if they can fish them out of the water, I bet they want to, because those things are gonna drift and wash up on some shore.
So you might as well just recover.
You know, these are more than just chunks of carbon fiber at this point. They've got a lot of proprietary tech on there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, they do. And actually, the hits, like I said, keep coming for this mission. SpaceX sent out an extra ship from Philadelphia. I think it was called what, Commander or something?
Commander.
Yeah, Commander. And it arrived back in its home port last night, I believe. And we had pictures, and it has no debris. It has nothing.
Oh, we do have
board.
pictures?
Nothing on it.
Yeah, they're pictures.
Okay.
Yeah, go to Gavin.
So, it's see. Recovered nothing. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised.
I was speculating again, but I'm wondering if Command just bring out some explosives.
Yeah, they might have been the team. Because last time when they had it, was it a Falcon Heavy core? I think they had to scuttle. Right. The one that survived. Apparently, there was Was it STP-2 that aborted and then actually survived, landing on the water? Because Arabsat fell over and they recovered it. And demo was very much of a rapid reschedule discussion. Because I've seen that video.
First Falcon Heavy just went straight into water right off the deck of the drone ship.
Yeah.
One of them, I'm pretty sure it was one of the Falcon Heavy center cores, came down, and like all you see in the footage is it shooting off away from the camera.
That was STP-2 because that was at night.
That was okay.
Arabsat landed,
but
and then fell over.
Fell over. Yeah, so they didn't scuttle that
on the deck and it came back.
Yeah, and there was the only half of it came back. I don't know what they did with the other half, but I think the STP-2 aborted.
I think that one blew up. I think that one. Blew up whenever
that's the only one I remember. That's the only last failure at sea I remember.
CRS-16, the one that water because it wasn't going to make its LZ1
No, they didn't scuttle that though. They towed that one in. I'm
yeah, we're talking about scuttle. Duh.
Where's Gavin?
We did Gavin.
We talked about that whenever we were on here, or whenever he was on Pressing for Flight. There was one that soft landed in the water, and then it tipped over, and then like there were rumors that like they sent the Air Force out. And
that's
shot missiles at it.
99% sure that's STP-2.
You think so? Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
I don't know. I don't know what. I can't really.
Especially when it's one of those rumor things. It's like, who knows at that point?
No, I think what came out is that they sent someone out to scuttle it. Yeah. They would be like, well, they're going to destroy it. I'm like, oh, why don't you just send the Air Force? And they can just use target practice on it. And then they which makes sense, but I feel like there's a lot more goes into that than what people think. Like that's not a very simple thing to do. No matter how much
have it like a radar to lock onto or something. You can't just fire a missile at it and expect to hit it.
And even though the pilots are probably pretty gung ho to do that, it probably would have ended up being the Navy anyways because I don't know.
Yeah.
But no, it was like, but I think they just went out to scuttle it, and maybe that's what no one tracked it last time. And then maybe they figured out this time who did it, and they tracked them this time.
And that's I don't know. It's I guess they're thrown away, but there's still some recoverable stuff like those grid fins. I mean, you just hose them off and they'll be fine. You know.
Yeah, that's kind of surprising. I was kind of expecting to see the grid fins on something. You know, either Mischief, Mystery, or Go Quest, or that Commander ship. You know, I was expecting, but then again, you got to get in the water, and those things are huge, so and you need to have a crane to support the weight so you can disconnect it. And, I don't know, we don't know how they get those things on and off, and it might be a lot more difficult than what we think.
Mm-hmm. Right. It could have been one of those things.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, it could have been one of those things where you just like throw a rope around it from the deck and just tow it back. I mean, kind of like what they used to do with the space shuttle boosters,
Right,
I know it was more involved than that. I've watched the videos, but you could, lasso that sucker and come on back. Woo!
Yeah.
Sorry, I've been drinking.
Okay.
Oh wait, that's the point. Duh.
Well, apparently, according to Wikipedia, it was SCP-2 center booster was destroyed upon impact in the Atlantic Ocean, so maybe not.
Yeah.
I swear that that's the only one I remember. So
there's another one, but I can't remember which one it was.
Mm-hmm. Well, Gavin will let us.
Somebody will correct us.
Gavin will let us know afterwards. So
yeah.
Or maybe it was one that was never intended to land. No, they haven't done that in years.
No, they haven't.
In fact, they were doing the practice soft landings.
Maybe it was.
I don't know. It seems more recent than that.
Maybe it was the last Block 4/3/full thrust one.
You know what? It definitely was not a Block 5. I will go with that. It was not a Block 5.
I don't remember, but
I don't know. We'll figure it out one of these. So what you got, Seth?
Oh, what else do we want to talk about here? Let's talk about Insight, huh? We talk about Insight later on. What we talk about Atlas versus Falcon 9, but here's a video.
Poor Insight.
It has so many issues.
Such a cool mission, and they're just having these issues. But they are getting data, right? Like they're getting.
Oh yeah, the only issue I think they have is with their mole. It's the only issue they have. They have an issue with their mole. It's just a funny thing to say. All right. I also love they have hashtag save them all. So basically what they're going to try doing now is just literally push it. They've exposed all other options, and then probably some random guy in the corner of the boardroom goes, what do we push it? And they're like, no. And then 3-4 months later go, hey, remember what did you say about pushing it? Let's try that. That sounds like a great idea.
That's one of those things how do you give a room full of super smart engineers a heart attack? Let's just push it. Let's just push it.
Whack-a-mole. There, yep.
Can you imagine a collective heart attack of everybody in the room?
Because they've tried.
What do you mean?
They've tried.
That's not sophisticated.
They tried bringing it out and putting it back in. They've removed the cover. They've tried pushing down on the side of it to form some sort of to see if there was like an air gap and see if it had no friction. And I'm like, at this point, I'm like, yep, just push it.
Push it, bonk it on the head.
Yeah, just a little tap.
Is it a matter of the engineering assumptions ended up being wrong? Like it didn't work the way that they thought that it would? I mean, they tested it, I'm sure, a million times before they sent it up. But it seems like why aren't they just trying somewhere else? Oh wait, it's a lander. Never mind.
They can't. Yeah, so it's not designed to come back out. It's designed to be put down once and go. They can't pull it out and put it somewhere else.
Okay.
Like that ribbon cable right there that it's connected to is paper, paper thin.
Oh, so they tried to pick it up.
If they try to move it, it's
they have something that can grab.
I think the arm might, but no, I don't think it's I don't think it's an arm. I think it's like a connector. So it connected.
It wasn't meant to grab.
Yeah. Right. So the mole had a little cover over it, and it connected to the cover and put it down. I don't know if it has like an arm or whatnot, but
this is exactly like Apollo 15 or 16, whichever one it was.
13?
No, not 13. I remember it from watching From the Earth to the Moon, which I found out is horribly wrong in so many respects. But remember when they were drilling into the surface and the bit got stuck, and they're like, yeah, and they're just trying like crazy to get it out. I think they came back to it the next day, and they're like, all right, let's give it one more try before we have to just abandon the drill and move on because we're behind schedule. And they ended up getting it out, but it took both of them lifting up this drill because the bit got stuck in something under the ground, and I guarantee this is exactly the same thing, and this is not coming out.
I don't know. Yeah, it would be hard. I think what they have to do, I don't think there's enough data really to prove whether or not it's failed. Whether or not they were wrong or not, I think they have to do it a second time to know, which sucks because now they have to send something all the way to Mars, try it in a different location. If it doesn't work again...
Didn't Insight go with multiple drill bits?
No, just one drill. Just the mole.
Really?
Maybe the mole has different drill bits, but I don't think so.
I thought they had something else. The mole was one type of drill, but they also had something else that wasn't intended to go as deep. Yeah.
I'm not sure about that. I just know they had the mole and they had that seismometer, whatever the hell the word.
Seismometer. Yeah,
Seismometer.
I think that's what I'm thinking of. Doesn't that is that the one that's got the cover on it? Like they
both have
place it down
covers.
and then it's got the
They
cover.
both have
Or
covers.
Okay,
Yeah.
they just haven't.
And it's apparently picking up some weird sound effects too. Like really weird. I haven't heard it, but apparently it's picking up some weird sound effects. Like Mars is making some weird noise.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it like the Earth groaning in fun or something? You know, like the live stream. It's like. You ever played Final Fantasy?
I didn't play Final Fantasy, so I have no idea what you're talking about.
Busted.
The live stream, man. Come on. Sephiroth.
I'm sorry.
Okay, I can get some credit back. I played Earthbound on Super Nintendo. I was playing it last night, as a matter of fact. I was doing another run through. So yeah, cult classic. What? I know some stuff.
That's more OG than me. I never played Earthbound.
Oh, dude, you're missing out.
I didn't play Earthbound
Find yourself
either.
a Super Nintendo classic and get on it, man. It is phenomenal.
Or an emulator.
Yes, or an emulator. Seth, what else we got?
So let's talk about Stephen for a little bit as he takes a drag on his bait. So you are a longtime photographer at the Space Coast.
Sort of.
Okay, you're a photographer at the Space Coast.
3 years.
3 years. That's longer than. How long have I started? I think about a year.
I mean, I was shooting longer than that, but I've only lived here 3 years.
Okay, so you've been here. Oh, really? Okay, learning new things every day. I thought you lived here longer. So, been here 3 years. Photographer, podcast, President for Flight. How'd you get into photography? How'd you get into space flight? How'd you get to the Cape?
Well, we'll have to go back a few years, and I haven't quite nailed down when it was, but at some point there were two different paths. On one hand, like I was kind of starting to get into photography, especially when cell phones started having cameras, you know, just kind of like everybody else, you know, and I'd see something cool and I'd want to take a picture of it, and over time, kind of, you know, try to get better, try to look at what other people do and be like, what makes that a great picture, and try to learn from that, you know. And also somewhere in there, I heard about SpaceX and how they were the first private company to ever dock with the space station, and I thought that was really neat, you know. And the implications of that seemed pretty big to me at the time, because I've always had a dream of going to space. I mean, who among us? Who among us hasn't?
Right.
But at some point, with my photography, I started getting more and more into space, and I started to see the limitations of what the iPhone could do. You know, whatever I had at the time was an iPhone 4, and I wanted to be able to take pictures of stars. And so it didn't take long, but I did some YouTubing and some Googling and stuff, and I figured out that, you need long exposure photography. Oh, okay. Well, I can't do that with my phone. They had these apps out there, these long exposure apps, and they just were terrible. You just ended up with a bunch of noise. It's all grainy and stuff.
Yep.
So I was like, all right, well, next tax return, I'll drop some money on a DSLR and some, I basically got one of those kits that you can get on Amazon. Like if you look for, a Canon DSLR, you'll find lots of these kits, and they'll come usually with 2 lenses. It's probably gonna be an 18 to 55 and a 75 to 300, and then a terrible tripod and a terrible camera bag and some terrible filters. And
I still have my tripod. It works great for me.
Oh, really?
Well,
I think I gave mine away. I don't know.
I have it. It's a third tripod. I'm gonna use it for my stream for my phone. Other than that, it's not great.
That kind of stuff. Yeah, it's definitely good for that kind of stuff. So, I mean, that's kind of how I got started, and it was, modest means, man. If you go to my Instagram, I've never deleted anything off my Instagram. So if you were to go to my Instagram and scroll all down,
we're going.
I wasn't
Steven, sir, what is your Instagram? What is your Instagram for all the folks in the crowd?
Just one word.
Oh, okay.
Unlike my Twitter name, where I had to put an underscore in there and crap. But yeah, if you scroll all the way down, you'll see my progression from just terrible to halfway decent rocket photos.
Oh damn, you ain't kidding. You ain't kidding, dude.
What was it called? Was it Space Coast Steve?
Yeah, it's basically.
Oh, no way. Oh, the
SCP-2
SCP-2 light painting that you did, dude. That is amazing.
That was with
Seth,
Crystal.
go find that.
I'm on it right now.
Crystal did the light painting. She actually wrote out "Go Light Sail" for me. You guys know Crystal, right? From
yeah, STLA. Yeah.
So go Light Sail.
So here I have it.
Yeah, so you can kind of see my progression. It started out just kind of goofing around, just seeing what I could do.
Hopefully, there's nothing bad on your Instagram.
No.
I have it on right now. I'm sharing
there's
it.
Nothing like that. Nothing even risque. I don't have a picture of a girl or anything like that. Yeah. So the way I looked at photography was what kind of neat tricks can I do with my camera, because I knew from the start that I wasn't going to just start out and understand like framing and composition and stuff like that. So I got into time lapse, which I've always loved to watch time lapses, and shooting the stars and stuff and sunsets and stuff like that. And it just, kind of progressed, and my skills kind of got better, and I started to do time lapses of the Smokies. I lived right next to the Smokies. If you look up Maryville, Tennessee on Google Maps, you'll see it's right next to the Smoky Mountains, and you're getting into some of the Smokies stuff right there. That's actually a good one. I really like that, and that was
good.
With my slider. I bought this slider it's built for time lapse, where it takes, and then moves the camera over just a little bit, and then takes another photo, moves the camera over a little bit. So
new toy for
I was
Daryl.
really into it, but I wasn't as inspired by that stuff. I would still go out and I'd get some shots. I'd try to do, like some waterfalls and do the mountains and all that kind of stuff. But also during that time, I was getting like crazy obsessed with SpaceX, especially. I mean, SpaceX is basically what brought a lot of us in. Let's be honest.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, without SpaceX, I'm not sure how deep I would have gotten, because with them wanting to land rockets like that, that was just the coolest thing in the world to me.
Yeah, totally.
And so I never got to even see a launch. Like, I came down on vacation in 2016. It was actually, I came down the same month that Amos 6 blew up.
Not a great start.
No,
I
wasn't here for it, but it definitely ruined any possibility of me getting to see a launch. But my girlfriend at the time and we were hanging out at the Beach Shack down here in downtown Cocoa Beach. And we're like, man, this place is awesome. Wouldn't it be really cool to live here? And so we just kind of had that in the back of our minds, like, well, that'd be a neat idea, maybe, because we both had moved around a lot, and we weren't strangers to moving and starting over somewhere. But she worked for this portrait studio, just like doing, like family photos and stuff like that. And it was a chain. And she told them, hey, if you ever need a manager down in that area, around the Space Coast, to let her know. Well, a few months later, they're like, well, we have a location that we need a manager, and we will move you down. They paid for the moving truck, basically. Like, they went ahead and got the moving truck. We still had to, find a place and do the down payment, all the deposit kind of stuff you always have to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, we pulled the trigger. My roommate at the time in Tennessee, I was like, we had obviously told him about this plan. And then whenever she got the go ahead, she's like, yes, we're doing this, and the company's paying for the moving truck. I told Brad, my roommate, I was like, we're going in 2 weeks. So if you want to come with us, you need to put in your 2 weeks notice now. And he was all on the fence about it. He's like, I don't know if I want to do that. He kind of felt comfortable up there in Tennessee and stuff. But when we told him that, actually, it was a text thread between the three of us. And, I told him that, and he texted back. He said, how far are we from the Taco Bell? I said, "Up the street." I said, I'm in.
Isn't that the Taco Bell Ben Solon's got all up about, because he's never had Taco Bell before?
Oh, I don't know.
Have you guys ever been in the Lucas future? Yeah, he's big in it. He's like, I guess they don't have Taco Bell out in California, like where he lives in San Diego. Yeah. And so he was like, I can't wait to have real Mexican cuisine.
Oh, get out of here.
like jokingly, and he's like, I've had when I met him at Arabs, he's like, I've had Taco Bell like 4 times.
Yeah.
It's like, bro, man, you're gonna have a horrible time tonight.
Yeah. No, I won't lie. I still eat it probably once a week at least.
Yeah, I still eat like Five Guys more than I should. And,
yeah. Well, I feel like for some reason I feel like Five Guys is better for you.
Oh no, it's not. Maybe McDonald's, but probably not many other places.
Yeah.
Their standard sandwiches come doubles. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I love Five Guys. They're good.
That's
so I don't know. I'll try to wrap this up. But once we got here, I'd have whatever experience I had with my camera, and well, first of all, first launch, I purposely did not take my camera with me because I wanted to just take it in. I didn't want to, try to photograph it at all. I was like, well, I live here now. I'll have plenty of opportunities. And man, I was right about that. There's lots of opportunities here. So just tried to, gradually just learn. The way I learn is very methodic and it's slow. I take my time. I'm not too hard on myself at first. I learn a technique, and then I try to worry about composition and stuff like that. And so with like streaks, it took me a while to finally get that down. I didn't ask anybody what the settings should be. I just kind of guessed. And then when I finally, settled on something, which it turns out later on I was wrong, but I went with F9. I was like, oh, F9, that sounds like a good aperture. It's still too wide. But what happened was my first semi-successful streak was at F9. Now my lens wasn't wide enough, but so at that point I was like, I'm going to go ahead and get an actual wide angle and try to get better. And it's just gradually getting better and getting better, and then also going up to the port when there's anything going on, and try to make a name for myself, kind of, as being one of the people that can get shots of stuff that's at the port because everybody's always interested. And then just over time, just made friends. One of the first like industry friends I made was Emery Kelly. Because I got that shot of Octograbber. It was apparently the first like good shot that anybody got of the Octograbber, and he reached out to me, and I told him, where we were from and stuff. He's like, well, I really like that story. Is it cool if I like interview you? And he liked the idea that we had moved down here just, for this stuff and everything. He put that thing on the front page, Florida Today. I didn't know that. It was just a phone conversation. He's just asking me questions about how we got here, and they ended up putting it on the front page. And so I mean, it's just been a slow progression. Trying to improve my photography and communication, try to spread news and stuff. I don't see myself as a reporter, but you kind of need to do that a little bit if you want NASA to even consider allowing you in. And that's one of the things is my goal at the time was just to be able to set cameras at the launch pad. And so now that I've been able to do that several times, it's like, okay, well, now I'd like to, take it to the next level and be in with NASA where I can be there for all this stuff, especially with crew launches coming up. I want to be close to it.
Yeah.
So, you try to tell people things that excite you, and, try to get other people excited about it. And that's kind of where it's at is, try to take great photos, and I would like to be able to do it for a living. Honestly, I'd like to not have to deliver pizza. That's what I do, y'all. I deliver pizza to make money. I do sell photos if you want to go to spacecoaststeve.com, but it's not enough to support, it's not enough to pay the bills.
Oh yeah.
Right. Were you one of the people who unfortunately lost some gear in the last Starlink with all the rain that happened the night before?
Well, that was kind of an lucky situation because I was going to set remotes, and then it kept getting pushed back, and then it got pushed back enough that remote setup day was on a day that I had to work.
Oh.
So I didn't get to set up remotes, and I was, of course, bummed about it, obviously.
Yeah.
But then when I heard the next day that so many people's cameras got hurt or
wounded.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm not someone that can really afford to lose a camera or two. You know what I mean? Like I've never bought more than a camera per year, and that's even more like that might give you the wrong idea. Like I bought my first camera in like 2012, bought my second camera in like 2017, and then bought my third camera last year sometime.
I just
You know,
bought
like
my
this is
I just bought my second
very
camera.
Do what?
I just bought my second camera this year. My first camera I bought end of 2018.
Yeah.
I bought that as a graduation gift.
Mhm.
Daryl, let's talk about all the cameras you've bought. How about that?
I have 4. I started with a 7D Mark 1, added a 5D Mark 2.
That's not a real start.
Wait,
Out of here.
wait,
Come on,
wait,
that's not a real start. If you don't start with a T series Rebel, bro, it's not a real start.
Well,
No.
I thought he was talking about one of the big full frames.
No.
Oh,
Well,
yeah,
I
it's still
sold
crap.
all my gear years ago and had to start over. So I'm saying I started over with a 7D, then added a 5D, and last year alone, I bought a 6D Mark II and the mirrorless EOS R, which I love.
That'll probably be my next camera, I'm actually thinking. That's probably going to be it.
It's so fun.
Either the EOS R or the R5. That R5 looks good. Is it
more than you need, honestly? I saw the specs on it and it's nice, and I'm not chomping at the bit to get it. If anything, I'll get a second EOS R if I want to expand, which I've considered.
Isn't the R5 like kind of the mirrorless version of the 5D?
I would say the regular R is the mirrorless version of it right now. It could be better. Yeah, they could bump up specs and everything like that, but I'm really not complaining. It's my go-to right now. I absolutely love the thing. Seth, you've already seen it. Steven, next time I come to the Space Coast, we got to get together. I'll show it to you, man. You're gonna love the thing.
Yeah. What I really want to get, like, I'm not like hardcore. I got to get a full frame. You know what I want is something like I kind of like my crop sensor, but get one that excels in low light, because I feel like that's the thing. It's like if you want a camera that's going to excel in low light, it's like you have to go full frame. Like you've got to spend a couple $1,000.
Yeah.
You know, I want a decent crop sensor that I can be like, yeah, this camera's good in low light. Like I've got two 60Ds and an 80D, and their noise profile is basically the same. You know, and I want something. I'm willing to spend a little more money, but I don't necessarily have to go up to the full frame level, or maybe I do. I don't know if they make something that excels in low light without it being a full frame.
Yeah, and especially what we do, you know, with the streak shots and things like that, or you know, as somebody like me dabbling in astrophotography, you know, low light situations. Yeah, you definitely need something that excels at it.
Hey, Harry's here.
Oh, hey, Harry, how's it going?
I missed Wayward. She said, I'm still learning how to attach and detach the lens.
Because she just got a T3, right? Yeah. T3i. Yeah, I'm super excited to see what she gets.
The Rebel series,
that's what I got. I got a T6. Started with a T6, and I have a 7D.
Tell you, there are some photographers. I want to say Richard Engle's one that still use a Rebel at the pad sometimes. Like
I would.
Not as their main one necessarily, but like some people still put Rebels out at the pad. Like it there ain't no shame in that game.
I mean, they take great pictures of them still. Like they still take great pictures.
Yeah, they did.
And they're cheap. So in case they get blown up or you know washed away, you know,
you're putting it on
you can only spend
the rocket gods.
You might as well do the cheaper one that you're like, oh darn, $150 new body, you know, like.
The altar of the rocket gods, and like I said in last week's episode, the ghost of 1046 is real, and it went after some people's cameras.
And
before it even died.
And didn't Trevor use his T6 on the Ariane 5 launch? I think as well. I think he used a T6. I think it's one of his shots, because I think one of his cameras had an issue, and he had to pull out the T6 as his backup.
He actually started using an old film Rebel.
Yeah,
and he did solar work. That
was pretty cool. I want to do that too. I want to try to get into film as well, because I feel like you just learn so much with film.
It's like I told him on Twitter earlier today. Like I learned on film as a Boy Scout going for the merit badge. Yeah, I was a Boy Scout, and
I only did Cub Scout, so I'm only this. Sorry.
Oh,
I didn't go to Weeblo. I didn't go to Weeblos, so. Well, not Weeblos. Boy Scouts. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things about film is you got to know your stuff, because you only get one chance to get it. You can't take a couple of test shots and check it and everything like that. And then on top of that, developing it on your own is another challenge all in itself. Because unless you have a dedicated dark room, you got to use one of these trash bag looking things. You got to open up one of those cans of film, which ain't exactly easy. And then you got to throw it. You got to know where you have all your chemical solutions, and you better hope you're throwing it into them in the right order. Otherwise, you lose everything. So, yeah, there's a lot more pressure with film.
Yeah, definitely.
But props to anybody who takes it on, man, because that's some risky stuff, especially nowadays with film being hard to find.
Oh, expensive
You know,
and whatnot. Yeah, there's still people who sell it because it's growing a little bit and more of the side thing, but like it's still like
it's one of those lost art kind of things.
Yeah.
You're not going to have a major company like Kodak that it was the name in film producing this stuff anymore. Now you got people who are trying to, do what they did. I think Kodak, I haven't checked, but I think they're starting to dabble in it again, but they're not hardcore into it like they were before. They're doing like other stuff. They're doing like half-ass digital cameras for kids and maybe some printer stuff and things like that, but they're not the Kodak they used to be.
Yeah, because Wayward says she wanted to get into photography when she was young, and like film was insane. Well, like same thing. If film was still a thing now, I would have never gotten into photography. Like screw that.
Here.
Like I'm not doing that.
There'd be so many. There would be a lot fewer people chasing launches if film was still a thing.
Oh yeah.
You say you're still mustering the courage to switch to the scary M. That's hilarious, by the way. But
it is scary.
what you got to do is just do it. Like you understand, roughly where your f-stop needs to be. Basically, all the way down. Like, don't worry about there are reasons to change your f-stop if you're in a daytime setting, but for the most part, you don't need to worry about anything but your shutter speed until the light starts going down. And what's nice is most cameras, when you look through the viewfinder, they've got that little exposure meter on there, and you should be able to change. I don't know how every camera is a little different, but you should have a dial. When you're in manual mode, it should adjust your shutter speed. And so what you do is you do a half press on your shutter, and that little readout will come up inside the viewfinder, and it'll tell you where you are in relation to the center, what the camera thinks should be the right exposure.
Yeah.
And as long as you're shooting in RAW, just aim for that spot.
That's all I do.
Because then you'll be able to go into Lightroom, and if it ends up being too dark or too bright, or one way or the other more than you wanted, then you can still adjust that without losing quality. But then once you get comfortable with that, then you can kind of start messing with your f-stop. And like one thing, most lenses are sharpest around like 7.1 or 8 or somewhere in there. I'm sure there's a lot of them that are different, but you find more sharpness, the higher your f-stop, and then the lower the f-stop, you're going to have a difference in your depth of focus, and there's different things like that. But just go to open that aperture all the way up, put your ISO at like 100. If you're not getting enough, turn that ISO up a little bit. If you're getting blur in your photos because your shutter's a little too slow, turn that ISO up a little bit. But don't be scared to switch to the manual, because the camera's going to help you figure out where your exposure needs to be. And then of course you've always got that little screen on the back to obviously you don't want to miss an opportunity, especially like when you're doing port stuff. If a booster's coming in, I know it's scary. You don't want to miss an opportunity or a great shot. But you'd be surprised how easy it is, and how the camera is actually built to help you find the right exposure.
Yeah. And you know what's crazy? What helped me out first getting into it when I was first buying these cameras and whatnot, you know what I learned a lot from? The damn instruction book that came with the camera.
Wait, what? You read that?
You said what? I didn't know.
Wait, I don't remember there being an instruction book. There's no instruction book.
The big giant instruction books that came with it, because when you go to all of these settings and you start thumbing through the instruction manual, it describes what everything does. It doesn't just tell you how to operate the stuff. It tells you what it does and how it affects your picture.
Yeah, I got Wayward. Since you live in Space Coast, you're just not that far from. Just when you want to take it out, just take it out the Kennedy Space Center, take some pictures of the rockets, of Atlas, all that other stuff like that. That's a good practice area, because that's where I started my photography. Was doing
practicing the rocket.
I went to KSC and I took a tour, and I just did photography on the tour. So, and I have a lot. They're all kind of crap pictures now because I didn't know what I was doing. But and you learn.
Well, and it's hard to get great shots on those tours because you've got one perspective that you can shoot from.
Yeah.
Obviously the bus is moving, so it might change a little bit, but I look at those as mostly like informational type shots, but you're worried about your exposure, so it's good practice to take pictures of things that you can go back and try again later, so try out your manual skills, something that that you can try again on.
Yeah.
Some other time.
Another fun thing is when I did my social, it was like up until like I went to the VA when I did my national social, I went to the VAB. And I was gonna take pictures of all the stuff at the VAB. I'm like, oh, this and this. I'm like, why am I taking pictures of this? I have a picture of something at the VAB. I don't know what it is. I just have a picture of it, and I have no idea what it is. Like, it just like
that's all right.
All right, whatever.
You could have done what I did the very first time I went to KSC. I mean, I did the whole touristy thing and whatnot, and me being from South Louisiana, I see pretty much the same wildlife that y'all have in Florida. So we were coming back from the Saturn V Center back to the main visitor complex, and the bus driver, instead of talking about rockets and whatnot, he's talking about the wildlife, and he's talking about gators, and then 5 minutes later, he says, sure enough, folks, right there at the right side of the bus, you can see a gator on the side of the canal, and everybody on the bus just flops to the right side of the bus.
Like the bus almost rolls over.
Yeah, they're picking up their cameras, and I'm doing the same thing. I'm picking up my camera with them. I'm like, wait, what the heck am I doing? I'm from South Louisiana. I see these all the time.
Yeah. It was a lot more fun of the social, like to stop taking pictures of the surroundings and like take pictures of the other people on the social. Because those are way more cool. Those are way cool. And those are how you get like more memorable shots. Like I have pictures of like John and Crystal setting up their cameras and like doing their talking with people. I have I think you guys both saw it. My shot of of Greg. Is it Greg? I think his name's Greg.
Greg Scott?
No, the tour guide from the social.
Oh.
The bus driver, not the bus driver, but the guy from the army.
Yeah, but I can't remember his name. But I feel like that's kind of the job of the locals that get in the socials. Like that's our job to like the other people who are doing it for the first time, that have never seen a rocket launch and stuff. Like that's probably Greg Hale.
Greg,
thank you, Transplants.
Yeah, he was such a great. Yeah, you see my screen.
That's a good shot.
He was such a great model. He was such a great model for us. It was great.
Yeah.
That's in the high bay for Omega.
You listen to Orbital? Is it Orbital Mechanics? They always say it like that.
Everyone's like, no, it's Omega. Every time I say Omega, it's like, no, it's Omega.
Not. They want it to say. They want you to say Omega. Surely, right? They don't want you to say Omega.
Yeah, I know, but that's. When you have a capital A, you gotta do Omega. Yeah. All right. Let's get back into some news because there is some. Oh crap! Dang it. No. Hold on, I'm just going. I closed it.
Wait, there.
Yeah,
dude, that's how I get. This is all my memes.
Look at me not paying attention.
Yeah, when I first got on Twitter, like you could do bookmarks on the app, but you couldn't bring bookmarks up on the desktop. But then they updated the website and now you can.
So,
be really nice to be able to edit tweets.
One day.
I don't think that'll ever happen. The only way that they might ever make that happen is maybe give you like a 5-minute window because
that's all you need. Because you messed up that tweet when you hit tweet. You hit the tweet button and then you read it back. You're like, I misspelled.
Dude, I read tweets like 10 times before I send them out. Usually.
Yeah.
Sometimes they still slip by.
So this last week, SpaceX got their permit approved to build a Starship factory at the port of LA, where they again, because they originally did it, and they're like, "Nah, it'll be easy," said every space company ever, and then it was a little bit harder than they thought.
I'm kind of surprised that they just sailed through the approval process so quickly, because I bet they felt like they got burned. Right, but you'd think that they felt. I mean, I guess you can't really do that in that that sort of environment. But it seems like they kind of got burned. It was like SpaceX was, pumping up how they were going to build Starship, and then they just left.
Yep. So it's still here's the thing. So they got a permit to build, but they're not approved yet to actually get the lease. So they have a meeting this week. I think it's Wednesday with the city commissioners. I think it's called. Of LA,
Now, do they not already have an existing lease from before? Because when was that? That was like a
I think they
year and a
ended the
half
lease.
ago.
Yeah, about 2 years, year and a half.
Okay.
I think maybe they didn't get the lease. Maybe they start. No, yeah, no, because they did. They started building, so maybe they just ended their lease.
Yeah, maybe they just ended it
Yeah.
early or something.
So,
All right. Here's something else to chew on. Why? Like, how often do you expect to have to launch a Starship on a polar orbit out of Vandenberg? That's pretty much all Vandenberg's good for.
The thing is, I don't think it's because of that. I think it's closer to headquarters. It's closer to their Hawthorne Center, which is where their Falcon 9s are built.
Right.
They
so
have a lot.
over there, save jobs.
They'll have a lot more. Well, I don't know if they have a lot more space, but I think it's really just close to the Hawthorne. I think that's really just the only issue is that they're so spread out.
They want to get their technicians close to it.
Yeah. So when they build a Raptor in Hawthorne, right? Their Raptors are built in Hawthorne, correct? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All their engines are made in California.
Well, though they're still tested in McGregor, so
Right.
I don't know. I felt like, but they were getting pretty spread out, and I don't think they're ending their thing in Texas. They just had a job fair.
No.
They just had a job fair. I think they're just trying to ramp up production of it, I guess. So
I don't even think they plan on launching from Vandenberg, do they?
Isn't Vandenberg? Didn't I hear rumors of it maybe closing?
I've never heard it mentioned. I mean, the Falcon. Nobody barely launches from there anymore. I think there's an NRO maybe later this year. One SpaceX launch either late this year or early next year. Like nobody's doing anything out of Vandenberg. It's all just missile stuff out of there. You hear about those launches fairly regularly, but
yeah, because I think that's where
nothing orbital.
Yeah,
and then after they prove that you can do polar from Cape Canaveral, then
yeah, it's like what's the point?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Though I don't think that you can get all inclinations. You might not. Yeah, you still might be limited on your inclinations. I think.
Maybe this is just parts manufacturing.
I think that's what it is.
A full-on. Yeah, maybe it's not a full-on Starship full assembly build right there at the port of LA. Maybe it's just parts.
Well, maybe they're gonna build Super Heavy there and then ship it.
Ooh.
Because they haven't started doing any, at least to my knowledge, they haven't done any Starship. Oh, sorry, any idea. Super Heavy.
Yeah.
So they're doing Starship, and then they do Super Heavy here because just the bulk of it, and then they don't have to attach the Raptors because they can't really do anything there with the Raptors. Ship it all over on a barge, and then
would that be a shortfall of gravitas?
Well, maybe.
Who knows at this point?
Yeah, where is that thing? Where is it?
Just gotta wait and see. Actually, I got into a Twitter discussion. I may be running around checking a couple of shipyards, just to see if any of those barges look out of the ordinary.
There's not a big X on the top of it.
Well, that is.
Oh wait, that's a big X. That could be anything.
Yeah, it could be anything. No, I got a hunch, so I might run and check those out. Just with some new information that came to my attention today.
Are they
not?
You don't want to miss that opportunity.
Yeah.
Oh no!
If that's nearby, you want to see it because I want to see it.
Daryl, I love you, but that's pretty much your only thing positive to the community is your barging. So you might as well do something positive to the community.
Now that you just read the instructions for me, I got nothing to chase. I can't chase Pegasus. I can't get anywhere to see that. So I have to find this barge. I hope to God it's being made in Louisiana somewhere.
I think they got you. They've built the other 4, right? They've built 4 barges, right? 3 barges. They built all 3 there, haven't they?
Yeah. They were existing barges used by some other company, and then they were refitted to be able to land boosters on. One of them has since been retired and moved on to another company and whatnot. But
moved on to another life.
Gone on to another life, and now we have the current iterations of the 2 barges.
Gotcha. I feel like they got to build a 3rd one. They got to be. There's no way they're gonna. Neither of those barges are capable of landing a Super Heavy.
Oh yeah, no, that's what shortfall for gravitas is. I mean, that's the assumption.
That's what you said. Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, he was suggesting maybe they would transport it on that too, and with that could be. Who knows?
That might make sense.
That's going to be a ridiculously huge barge. Like, it won't even fit through the Panama Canal. You got to go all the way around South America with that thing.
Is that? Didn't they?
Well,
They
had to
enlarged
take
their.
They had to take the wings off and just read the instructions to get it through.
That's right.
Well, did they go through the which docks they go, or which
locks?
Locks? Because they have two. They have two docks. They have the Panamax one, which is what a lot of the ships are created at, and then they're building larger ones.
That's true. They I think they can fit like aircraft carriers through, but I don't know about this thing.
They used to. They can't do the super carrier ones now.
Oh.
Which doesn't make. I mean, it's fine because they have nuclear. They have their nuclear engines. They can just doesn't matter. They can just go around. Not like it's, not like the Panama Canal is like strategic for them at all. Well, okay, it is, but not that
it's
strategic
helpful
anymore.
when you can use it. Yeah.
No,
I don't know. We'll see. I'm gonna go check around and see what's going on. I got time for it.
You're about to get cut from the community if you don't produce something.
I'm hurt.
What are you talking about?
Getting cleaved from
man, you left Antares. We all had hope for you, and then you left it. You walked away from
That was a good scouting trip for the first Electron launch. That was really good.
How long do you think I should take off of work for that one?
A week.
Well, that's the most I'll be able to do. I'll take a week off, and hell, maybe the first day that you take off ought not be the original launch date.
Yeah.
What are the chances it's going to go on its first launch day?
I mean, Electron's pretty good. I mean, Rocket's pretty good at launching on their first day. Technical issues maybe, but
I'm not actually saying, once we hear a launch date, that it's going to be like, all right, I'm taking that week off. But
so the problem is what I've learned, since I have to travel pretty far, like I have a 10-hour drive to and from the Space Coast every time. What I've learned is you got to be really flexible and you got to be able to change up your plans like on a moment's notice, because we all know these launch dates slip.
Yeah.
Very rarely to the left, always to the right. So you got to be able to change up your travel plans. You definitely need to, in the interest of safety, leave yourself a good bit of travel time, time to sleep, even if you're like sleeping out in the field somewhere to be able to catch these pictures. You got to be able to do that both before and after.
Harry, don't do that to me.
Harry,
what do you do? I don't see the chat.
I'll head to New Zealand for an Electron launch just to make you jealous.
I'm gonna go. I want to attempt. I don't know if I can take a whole week off, but I'm gonna attempt.
I'm gonna drive.
We need to have a road trip. Pressure for flight. All of us have to go up there. Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah. Now, Stephen, I will say for you, it's not that bad. Now, I don't know how you are on road trips. Me making these 10-hour drives all the time, it was nothing for me to go from Virginia to the Space Coast, except for Daytona 500. That was nothing. That was maybe 10, 11 hours. If I was trying to go to Virginia from where I live, that's an 18-hour drive for me. That's a lot. Luckily, I have a friend I can stay with in Charlotte. Once I get on the road from him, it's 6 hours to go. That's nothing, and most of that is state highway drives, slower speeds. That's the only reason it takes some time.
Right.
It is a really pretty drive though. Once you start going through like the country roads of Virginia, crossing over to Chesapeake. Watch out for that toll on the Chesapeake. It's $14 each way.
Yep.
Whoa.
Yeah.
But how much does it cut off the trip?
About.
Like, is there a better way to go around?
5 hours.
Okay.
You can go all the way around, up around.
You'll save that in gas.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not that
you
bad.
can go all the way up around DC and everything like that through Maryland, and you'll skip that toll, but you'll definitely spend it in gas.
Anything once you get past Atlanta, the drive's great.
Oh,
anything Georgia sucks. I hate Georgia. I've drove through Georgia twice, like straight north on 95. I don't remember 75.
Mm.
Dude, it's such a horrible drive. It's literally just you sitting there. I'm like, oh, we're just farms, trees.
Dude, that freak snowstorm I hit at the beginning of my trip going up to Charlotte, leading to Virginia, it was in Atlanta when I hit it. I'm like, I don't hate this city enough. Now it's got a snow on me in Atlanta. I'm from the South. I'm not used to this stuff. I can count on one hand and not use all my fingers of how many times I've seen snow in my life.
He's complaining, and I'm sitting there like from Wisconsin. I'm like, dude, come on, you're fine, dude. Oh man, it's 20 degrees out, man. You're fine, dude. Come on, dude. That's nothing.
What's this white stuff on the ground? I am not prepared for this. I'm from the swamp.
Yeah.
You could tell.
Seth, you should be scared in the snow because you're driving around people that don't know how to drive in the snow.
Oh no, down here I'm always terrified to drive. If it snows down here in Miami, we're screwed.
Oh yeah,
half the population is gonna go gonna be gone because no one knows how to drive.
And you're gonna have raining iguanas. That's still true.
That's the best part. When it gets too cold, you have an iguana raining, falling warning. Yeah.
Oh man.
I don't know what that.
So iguanas. Fun fact about Florida. There's a lot of iguanas and lizards in Florida.
In South Florida, yeah, I know.
Especially in South
West.
Oh yeah,
it was kind of crazy.
So when it gets too cold, they can't function. They just they don't die. They just go to sleep.
They just freeze, right? Yeah.
And they can't hold on to the tree anymore. So they're at the top of the tree. They just fall. And they just kind of lay there lifeless until they get warm up again and then they just walk away like nothing happened.
Oh, that's awesome.
I know. And so when it got super cold, not super cold as in 50s, I think it went down to the 40s. They had a warning of falling iguanas.
It was IFA weekend when I first heard about it.
Oh yeah, it was. It was IFA weekend.
It was IFA weekend.
And the iguana falling warning.
What the heck?
It was an actual warning, sent out.
Yes, like a weather. It's like a tornado warning. You would get but for falling iguanas.
I don't think it came from the National Weather Service or anything, but
it was
there was a weatherman who tweeted out about it, watch out for falling iguanas.
It was from the local wildlife people, that they tweeted that out, and it's a weather warning pretty much. But it's great. Yeah, I heard that on my walk. I'm like, come on, someone fall. I want to see this. I want to see this now.
Seth, what's your screen?
Oh, which one do you want? Which one? I'm switching between three. Vega. I'll be honest, I kind of like Vega's a little rocket that it's unique. I kind of like it.
Dude,
it's a little interesting little Vega.
Unique, dude. I love Vega launches. Whenever those take off, they do not mess around.
No,
3, 2, 1, peace out.
Boom.
Gone. It just eats itself off the pad in such a hurry. I love watching them. I love it. I'm glad.
This is a return to flight for them, right?
Yes.
For the Vega, yes.
Is this the one that had the wrong parameters put in there, and it thought that it was way off course? And
No. It's the one where it failed to separate the second stage.
Yeah. So the second and third stage
didn't fire, and it just went sploosh. That was Falcon Eye.
Yeah. Falcon Eye 1? No. Yes. Because
Yeah,
Falcon Eye 2 is launching soon, but that's launching on a Proton.
Yeah,
oh, yeah, because Falcon Eye 2 is supposed to launch on a Vega as well, and they switched to a Proton.
Yeah.
That was an awkward... Did you guys watch the live stream?
Yes. Oh, man, that was heartbreaking watching
Steven, did you watch it?
having to come to the podium.
It was kind of... It was a really awkward, sad... the lady comes up... I can't remember what her title is. But
she's the director of ESA.
I think I know what
she's
you're
the
talking
director.
about.
She comes up and she's like, I'm like, well, all of a sudden I'm like, something happened. Everyone knew, the simulation. They had, I don't know if they had a sim
it was the plot points. It was the plot points, the projected versus actual. They started splitting off from each other, and that's when everyone's like, uh-oh, what's going on?
Yeah,
and then 9 minutes after liftoff, she's already on the podium apologizing for losing a payload. Props to them for actually going up to this in a hurry too, not beating around the bush. Props to them. But the funny thing is, if you go search for that now on the ESA's YouTube page, it's gone. They kept it up. They kept it up for a little while, but it's gone now.
Yeah. I bet you could find it on the Space Videos channel.
Oh, the one that plays everything on repeat.
Everything, yeah.
I think I've blocked them, so I've reported them so many times, and I think I haven't blocked.
It's a terrible channel that just repeats shit, but they do archive things.
Yeah.
I mean, that's their saving
There's a lot of people.
I guess,
there's a lot of people that have stuff archived.
Yeah.
You could find it from someone else.
I wouldn't support them
it's
at
out
all.
there.
Yeah,
It's just the fact that ESA took it down. But I mean, let's play fair. SpaceX took down the CRS-1 and the ammo static fire. It never even made it.
Yeah, that wasn't there.
Well,
that
was
their video.
Report. Yeah,
It
was
someone else. U.S.
launch report.
Yeah. But strangely enough, it's gone. But they're returning to flight. I can't wait to see it. I love seeing these things take off.
It's an interesting little rocket because it's first stage is solid rocket. There's a solid rocket motor. Second stage is first and second, and then third stage is liquid. Right?
That sounds about right. Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know any of this stuff.
Third stage is like a tiny little like kick motor or something like that. But yeah, I think first and second are both solid.
Mm-hmm. It's an interesting little rocket. It really is.
Funny enough, going back to Antares for a second, the first stage is liquid fueled, and the second stage is solid.
That was a really interesting rocket. That one's kind of cool to see.
That feels so backwards, but it works. That's the Castor 30 XL, solid second stage.
Yeah, HTPB. No, third is also solid, and fourth is looks like it's the nasty stuff.
Ooh, it's the nasty stuff.
Hydrazine and dimethylhydrazine and unsymmetrical.
Oh yeah, that good stuff. Yeah,
that's the good stuff.
I tell you, if you ever want to learn about how nasty that stuff is, read that book Ignition, talking about the history of propellants. It's like half history lesson, half chemistry lesson, and a little bit of comedy mixed in. Dude, they talk about how nasty that stuff is, especially when they start talking about fluorine, like pure fluorine. Ooh, like that's the kind of stuff that'll give you nightmares.
So I'm watching a video of a Vega launch, and you ain't kidding, man. That thing just takes right off.
Like 3, 2, 1, yeet.
Boom, just go.
That reminds me of, and this was like the first maybe 6 months of me living here, and I didn't, obviously I knew the main rockets, the Atlas V and the Delta, and obviously the Falcon 9 and all that stuff. I knew that, but there was a Minotaur launch at like 3 a.m. or something. And I didn't know anything about it. I was, told my roommate, hey man, let's go wassailing. That's when we go drink on the beach. And I was like, there's a launch tonight, so let's just go drink on the beach and watch this launch. And man, that thing's got places to be.
Ain't got no time for anything. It just goes.
No, I gotta go. And it takes off, and it was like you don't see it for very long, really, and then it just goes through all these different colors because it was 3 a.m., so it was dark, so you could see all these different colors. It went from like, obviously, starts out with yellow, and then it goes to like green and blue and all these colors, dude. And I wish that I was doing the streak thing back then, man, because which I should probably look up, see if anybody else has any streaks of that, because the colors on that thing was just incredible.
I remember the Minotaur.
Just so fast.
Is that the kind of thing you actually have a heads up for, though, to be able to set up and do a streak?
I knew about it. I knew there was a Minotaur launch. It's just there's not very many. There's not very many Minotaurs left, even. As far as like the actual missiles, there's not very many of them left.
That was in 2017?
I'm pretty sure.
It's a Minotaur 4.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
And does it actually go is it actually orbital? Was that actually a satellite in orbit?
Probably can be.
Been so long, but I think so. It was like I'm pretty sure it was a military payload. I mean, it almost has to be.
They're for the Air Force. Yeah, it's for the Air Force.
Right.
It is and wow, there's no information on it. There's like, you're like, well, is it a first, second stage? There's no information.
I don't think you could really launch anything out of here without people knowing ahead of time.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Really? Like, there's been times that I've questioned that. Like, someone would be like, "Hey, there was supposed to be like some super secret launch," and I'm like, "No." Like, it's funny on the Next Horizon Facebook page. Sometimes we'll get these questions like, "Did that launch happen today?" And I'm like, "What?"
I don't like the sounding rockets out of Wallops and not Wallops, but out of Vandenberg. You don't get a lot of time because they're testing, so they just
and then like Alaska,
little bitty sounding rockets.
I'm sure there's Alaska launches or.
There's not Alaska. I think there's launch of the first one soon.
Yeah,
John Cross is up there. He looks like I'm in Kodiak. I'm like,
Well, maybe that's the first one from there, but they've launched things from somewhere in
I
Alaska.
think they have.
before.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
there might be an Air Force
It's
base
in
out there
Kodiak.
testing.
Yeah, they've done stuff before, but it's just so rare because who needs to do it? Not too many people.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is it called again? Astra. Are they actually doing a test launch?
Well, it's a program for DARPA where they're going to get a bunch of money if they manage to launch this one and then launch another one within like the next, help me out,
Oh, is
10
it?
days?
Yeah, it's
7
10 days. I think it's 10 days. And so they have to ship,
not from this, but from a different site,
which is their sites.
So they have to take their crew, move them somewhere else. I'm assuming it's not the same, or I'm assuming it's going to be the same.
It's
people.
a different launch site, which is they have 2 launch sites. They're polar ones in Kodiak, and they're, I don't know what it's called. The eastern one is in one of the atolls. I think it's the same one that SpaceX used to use.
Oh yeah, that's how you pronounce it. We'll go with that.
I think that's what it is.
Sounds right.
I think that's their other.
Oh man, here's some good stuff for anybody out there listening that just wants some good content to watch. Is if you haven't already. I mean, I'm sure a lot of SpaceX fans have, but go back and watch all those original webcasts from the Falcon 1. The first 4 launches. You get all 3 failures and then the successful one. Man, it's like watching an inspirational movie, man, because it's like the fail and they're devastated. And the third one, it actually includes, of course, it's got the successful and everyone's super happy, and then Elon like speaks to his team and everything, and it's like it wouldn't happen without you guys, and you get, it's like a camera that's way off to the side. It's not like well filmed, but you can hear what he's saying and stuff. That is cool. Go back and watch all of those, and I'm pretty sure they're all even on the SpaceX channel on YouTube. Yeah,
I have to check that out.
Yeah, dude, it's really cool. Start from the beginning.
Okay. Does it include the onboard footage of when it comes back and bangs into itself?
Yep, sure does. Yeah, and getting to watch it without because you can watch documentaries or something about SpaceX and how they got started, and they'll give you the commentary. But watching that original footage, especially because you already know the ending, so watching that original footage, kind of like as if you were watching it live for the first time.
Yeah, the commentary kind of ruins it. Like, the NASA commentary for Solar Orbiter. Excuse me.
Yeah, too much commentary can be too much for sure.
It was way too much. I was happy with just Mr. Nominal, the ULA commentator. I was good with him. And I don't think we actually had a final tally of how many times. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's the Antares launches with Mr. Nominal. But I don't think we got a tally of how many times he said it. And I guess I'll go back and do that one day soon. I'll give everybody a tally.
When SpaceX would stream the main webcast, and then they'd stream the technical webcast that just had the countdown net on it.
Oh, they went back to doing it.
Oh, they're doing it again now?
Yeah, I've noticed that pop up lately. Like if you go to their channel with an upcoming launch, you'll see 2 pending webcasts, and one is technical and one is the regular live stream. They don't do it for everything. Probably depending on the mission, I'm sure. But I think they're starting to do it for Starlink.
I watch fewer and fewer webcasts. Usually I'll go back and watch the webcast later on just to see if there's any tidbits in there that I need to know about. But definitely am not. And ideally I'll have a phone number that I can call in and listen to the countdown net.
Wait, what? That's a thing?
Yeah, that's a thing for media.
If you're media,
which I think is dumb. I wish they wouldn't do that, but I mean, it makes sense. It's not.
Well, it's just nice because what's cool about it, like the webcast is fine, except that you never know exactly how much that delay is.
Yeah.
Whereas if you do get to call in and listen to the countdown net, then you can actually hear the real time countdown, and so when it's happening.
Yeah, I just have my watch. I trust my watch. Press kitten watch.
But it's hard sometimes. Like I know that like Chris G sometimes will figure out the exact second, but you don't always get that. You don't always know the exact second that it's going to launch. It'll be 6:36 p.m. but how many seconds?
And it's usually it's close enough, but
and he's usually down to like 10th of a second sometimes too. And that's not anything really necessary. That's just for just for the hell of it, you know.
It's helpful when you're trying to operate multiple cameras. Like if you're trying to get a streak as well as like still liftoff shots or something. It's really
like me.
It's just handy to have. Like you're within 5 seconds. Okay, cool. All right, I'm ready.
Yeah. So hopefully by next time I'll have a little app that might help me. But that's a secret.
I'll pay money for that.
I'm reaching out and I'm talking with Nathan right now about it, and then I'm gonna reach out to Travis.
Who wouldn't? What launch fan that is going to, especially you get tourists that come down to see a launch. I mean, if it's a buck or two, I can't imagine it being much more than that. Apps, right?
Yeah, it will probably most likely not. It will probably be a free app, but it will probably have some paid stuff in it. So.
Ads.
Because I have a degree in mobile app development, like we did a business class in it. If you put your app for anything more than free, it's suicide.
Ooh.
It's not going to happen. Yeah. Users are now just more they expect apps to be free.
Yeah.
And the subscription service is
it's
more
just to get it onto their device.
Yes,
when they see that there's other features.
Yeah.
Then they'll pay that.
Sadly, though, also in that business class, the teacher comes to us and goes, "That's a really great app idea with your posting photos on there and all stuff." I'm like, "Yeah, with a little line in your EULA, you can own those photos." I'm like, "Oh, okay, no." Then you can sell those photos, and I'm like, "I bet I can. Not gonna do it though. I have morals." There's always. I mean, you can always. I mean, if I want to sell all your data, I could. I already have all your data. What do you mean? You Skype called me, man. You laugh now.
Oh, man.
All right. We have 2 more items. Want to bang through them real quick?
Yeah, let's bang.
All right. First one is, let's switch over to it. This is just a tweet I found interesting. So Virgin Orbit tweeted that in March they're going to have an industry event in Bristol and Cornwall, which is in the UK. And this is a line that's interesting, to bring small satellite launch to the UK. Does that mean they're going to start launching from the UK, which they could? It's a air launch system. Or do they mean bringing jobs for the small sat and small sat launcher to the UK?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
See, what I'm thinking
is air launched, right?
What?
Yeah, that's
Virgin Orbit is they have the 747 with the launcher one. They haven't even launched yet, so they're doing the test launch this year. They
would integrate the rocket underneath the plane, from wherever they do that. The factory here in the U.S. I thought it was Spaceport America, but
I have no idea where it is.
But,
I thought it was
either way, and then fly that plane over there. But then you need facilities to actually fuel up the rocket, because surely you're not flying around the globe with a fueled up rocket, when you don't plan on launching it, right? But I do think that they mean that they're going to launch it from there. I mean, especially with that picture of a runway, it's really implying to me that they're going to take off from there.
So I went to Wikipedia and looked up Launcher 1, and it said launch sites: Mojave Air and Spaceport, which we all knew, Kennedy Space Center, Cornwall Airport, which is in England, which is what they're talking about. Ellison was a place in Hawaii, and then a place in Puerto Rico.
Now, there's not a way for them to actually have like tanks of liquid oxygen and kerosene. I don't even know what their fuel is. Is it kerosene?
It is. Yeah, kerosene. It's kerosene, not RP1.
Is it possible? It's not RP1.
It's not RP. Because I know on Wikipedia, when there's rocket, they always are very certain on what the fuel is. It usually says RP1, not kerosene. So it says kerosene and LOX.
So I wonder if
it's a JP and not a RP, like jet fuel.
No,
if they're doing some kind
kerosene.
of jet fuel thing for that.
It's kerosene.
It's
Wikipedia.
The same thing.
It is
Wikipedia.
That's true.
It is Wikipedia, but
But I wonder if they can carry in the plane the ability to fuel the rocket. Maybe they don't need to have the facilities at the actual airport. Because if that were the case, then they would literally be able to launch from anywhere. Right?
Yeah.
Like if they could, I don't know. They probably can't.
They're not
I mean,
tied to a
we're
pad.
talking about some high pressure, I mean, liquid oxygen, that's not something you necessarily want to be flying around with, I don't think.
Yeah, look at liquid oxygen though. You can kind of get it anywhere. So maybe they can just build a facility to produce it at each place, and then they just land. And kerosene is relatively available too, if it's just plain kerosene, which makes sense thinking about it now. That if they want to lower the cost, because the issue with oh, what is it called with Northrop Grumman's? Was Northrop Grumman's air launch, but Northrop Grumman's air launch rocket.
The Pegasus.
Pegasus. It's relatively expensive compared to non-air launch options.
Harry, we tied.
Yeah.
He said it, Russ said it, or at least. I guess
gotcha.
he kind of beat me to it because
the delay. But yeah, so I think the price is pretty expensive, which is I think one reason why you don't see a bunch of launches with it, unless I don't know, unless there's like government stuff, I guess. Which now you have Lab here, they can do government launch. I think that was the issue. They didn't want to do like the DARPA or not DoD stuff because they weren't in the United States.
Right.
Yeah, because I think they did a DARPA launch, but they didn't do a DoD launch.
Yeah, they did like test stuff for them, but not officially launching anything from out of the country.
Yeah, so now they're gonna do it. Now they get you have a DoD contract. But the kerosene makes sense because kerosene's cheap. You can get kerosene anywhere. Like so if it's kerosene, not JP1 or RP1, it's just plain kerosene. They can get that in Hawaii. They can get that in Puerto Rico. They can get that in the UK. No need. You just got to get a.
But what's the downside to it? I mean, why do they usually use RP1 instead of just straight up kerosene?
It's more. I think I don't know. I don't know the difference. I think if I pick a guess, which come on, we don't need to be creditable here. I think it's more efficient, more what's the term? Energy packed, I guess. Like the energy density is higher.
Okay.
Yeah, and then
I think the way it burns,
it's cleaner. It burns a little bit cleaner than kerosene.
Yeah, somebody like John freaking Insprucker says it all the time. He's on a SpaceX webcast. He's like, it's a highly refined.
It's highly refined kerosene.
It's a highly refined kerosene.
I can hear it in my head.
Not to down the guy because he is truly awesome.
He is the best.
Yeah, every time I see a webcast with him on it, I light up. Like, okay,
yes,
we got
yes,
John
yes.
John freaking Insprucker, and I usually don't say freaking.
It's all nominal. Which I have.
So we're gonna have to wait and see what Virgin Orbit does, but it seems like they're on the way to doing stuff, and good for them because this is different from what anyone else is doing.
There we go. Yeah. I got my normal hat on.
It's cool that they're listing the Space Coast as one of their launch places because I know that they were talking about it, and like we talked about this before we got on the show that they were talking to. Which one is Space Coast Regional? Is that the name of the
Space Coast Regional Airport? Is they put out they're going to renovate their existing Space Coast Regional Airport and Spaceport, which I'll be honest, pretty bold of them. It's pretty bold. Like they're sitting next to the number one spaceport in the world. They're like, we want to be a spaceport too. Like, okay, whatever you try, man.
Is that the one that's like right on the road as you go into KSC from the west?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's cool. It's right. Yeah, it's pretty snug up right there, and they're going to extend the runway, add a few more hangars, and they want to attract like air launch, I guess.
But how many companies are doing it? You got Virgin Orbit, and then there is Stratolaunch, but
we have Virgin Orbit, Virgin Galactic. Yeah, I guess if Virgin Galactic wants,
I don't know
if they want to have an East Coast facility, but.
They should. Here's why. Because Blue Origin should. You guys want to hire me as a consultant? Just let me know. But they definitely should because as it is right now, everyone's going to get the exact same view. Because when you're suborbital, you're going up and back down. You're not going to go see the other side of the Earth. You're not. You have one. You have one layout that you're going to see. You're going to go up above. Spaceport America or Mojave or whatever. That's all you're going to get.
Yeah.
So, it would make sense to offer different options for people, as long as they're successful and people are still buying tickets. I know that Virgin Orbit has a lot of ticket holders, supposedly hundreds of them.
Supposedly, yeah. And he's a Justin Bieber one of them. JB.
Oh Lord.
JB.
Sounds right.
Yeah. So they want to extract. So I think the only options you have is Virgin Orbit, Virgin Galactic, Northrop Grumman, because they didn't say they're retiring Pegasus. They didn't say it. They just don't have any launches booked.
And they can't do it cheaper than a Falcon 9 anymore.
They can't do a Falcon 9 or an Electron or probably Launcher 1 either. Trying to think what else. Well, Strato launch, but Strato launch is huge. I don't think they can extend, because they would have to not just extend the runway out, like length, but also width. If they want to attract
Strato launch has to survive too.
If they want Strato launch,
they're in trouble.
Also, I think a 747 taking off out of like Spaceport Regional is meant for like local, like Cessnas and like small aircraft. You can't land a 747 in there. They're gonna have to do some which is I think they're what they're probably gonna try to do. But
why not just go to Orlando International? I mean, it's right there.
You know how busy that is, though? Yeah, there's no way you're going to be able to land.
Just have a live rocket tucked up under the wing.
Yeah. It's not like
just take it off the regular aircraft.
It's not like the top 5 busiest airports in the United States.
Yeah. What? Yeah. It's all right. He's right behind the plane that's going to the Bahamas and in front of the one that's going to Atlanta.
Yeah, you can taxi up between Spirit and Southwest. It's whatever.
Yeah, that's no problem.
Yeah, that's not just that waiting to happen right between Spirit.
Well, I don't understand what the problem could possibly be.
Exactly.
Like the captain on the as you can see on your right side of your plane is a rocket.
It might kill us. We don't know.
Yeah. What could possibly go wrong?
Let's see. Harry said, I know SLF had big plans for air launch providers, probably out of date now, though. SLF.
SLF, is that space?
Shuttle launch facility.
That too. Why would you land at Spaceport Regional when you can just land at Shuttle?
That's Spaceport Regional making a play to get some business.
Yes, they want to get business. And I can see...
It's not that anybody wants to go to them. They want people to come to them.
Yeah, because they already have... Because Northrop Grumman already does... Do they do Cape Canaveral or do they do the Shuttle landing for their takeoff and landing? I think they do... Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. Or sorry,
no, you're right. Yeah, they took off from the airstrip.
From the skid strip,
Air Force side. For Pegasus they did.
Yeah, and then they land there, and then and everything I know of that's space related lands at I know it's KTTS, but
shuttle landing facility. Mars 2020 was delivered, and that was to the shuttle landing facility, and then the OneWeb the next batch of OneWeb satellites just took off from the shuttle.
Did we talk about OneWeb last week, Daryl?
No, but hold up. At one point, there was 2 Antonovs, the big.
You're right. It was Salcom that arrived.
Salcom arrived, and I think the second one's coming to pick up the OneWeb. So that wasn't the one that's picking up OneWeb.
That's what it was.
I think.
And Mars 2020 came on like a C5 Galaxy.
Yeah, that was
C-17.
C-17
Galaxy.
But yeah, you had Salcom arrive,
and
then OneWeb was leaving.
Those are big planes. C-17s are big as well. I can't imagine being next to what are they called? Antonov, whatever. Like
the Antonovs.
Yeah. I can't imagine because I've taxied past a C-17 down here, and it's like, okay, that is a big plane. That's like, it doesn't. It's not. I don't think it's not as long as a 747, but like, it shows up a 747 pretty well. Like.
You want to talk about Galaxy being a big plane? Yes. Richard Hammond, who used to be on Top Gear, is on the Grand Tour with those guys and whatnot. He's got his own show on Science Channel called Richard Hammond's Big, which is funny because he's a little guy. The second little guy doing big stuff. His second episode was he went to, I think, Dover Air Force Base and was, hanging around with the guys who work on those planes, who work on them, fly them, load them, everything like that, was flying around with them, driving it around, like taxiing it somewhere to get worked on and all that stuff. Yeah, it's an obnoxious plane.
Yeah,
so big.
It really, especially compared to a little guy like him.
Yeah.
So big.
Yeah, and Harry's right. The X-37B also lands at SLF, but that thing will never. That thing won't get anything with Spaceport Regional just because it's military. So
Right.
that thing's got to land right there and get right back into the hangar. So.
Don't want any crying eyes.
I just wish they announced
what
that
will the
more.
X-37 be? What is it launching on next? I know it launched on a Falcon 9 for the mission it just returned from, right?
I don't even know when the
I don't
next
think
mission
they've said
is.
yet.
Yeah, they haven't even
They
announced
haven't
another mission yet. I wish they gave a little more heads up when that thing was landing because that's the closest thing for me for a shuttle landing. Like I've never.
They're not.
I know they're not.
No, they're not.
They give like the day of warning, I think, because of the sonic booms. But like,
No, what you're gonna need is the Sierra Nevada Dream Chaser, which is like basically the same size, more or less.
Yeah, it's a miniature because I think
X-37.
X-37.
I thought you were saying as the shuttle, like what? No.
Oh, the X-37 I think was built to actually fit inside the shuttle payload, if I remember correctly.
Oh,
it was built to fit inside of it. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, if you look at it, it's about the same. It's narrow and all that. It would fit.
It was kind of funny when X-37 came back the last time. Like it came in the middle of the night, and then I woke up to an email with like 2 photos in it. Like X-37B is back.
Yeah, I know. Like I wish they gave a little more heads up because that thing, even just even just day of, more literally morning of, because I can still drive up there in time to get it if I in the morning. X-37B is coming in, sonic boom approaching, like boom, I'm up there because I would love to see that. Dream Chaser would also be cool to see, though that probably isn't.
Like I said, with Dream Chaser not being military, that's probably going to be your best bet.
Yeah, but that probably won't land at Kennedy. That might land at elsewhere because don't they develop it over in Mojave? Yeah, White Sands. I mean, that would suck if it went to White Sands.
It can go wherever the heck it wants, being that size.
That's valid.
Honestly. But I mean, both of them are so cute. It's like when a mommy space shuttle and a daddy space shuttle love each other very much.
When Atlantis and Discovery get a little frisky. Yeah.
Oh, Transplant says Atlas 501.
Yes.
I'm assuming you're talking about X-37B.
Are you talking about X-37B? Yeah, because I know. Well, yeah, because in May. Interesting, in May. Yeah, because wait, wasn't that is that ASFPC or whatever like that? Is that what that is?
I don't know.
I don't remember what that. I don't remember. It's a bunch of just gobbled letters and then 7 or something like that next to it. No, because
welcome to the military alphabet.
I know. Trust me, I know a lot. I'm blanking. Oh, Sierra Nevada will be launched on Dream Changer will be launched on Vulcan.
Yep.
Is that official Transplants? Because I know I saw some rumblings about Sierra 20 getting pushed, but
I'm
waiting on official word.
I actually had some messages early in the show, but I was holding on to that.
Google says March 2nd, but I'm not sure.
Well, that's
definitely don't check KSC's website.
Transplant says yes. Well, it's at TBD status. Okay.
Yeah, it's at a
TBD. I've seen things
Starlink
too, but
is still on.
I've seen stuff, but I just don't know. I mean, I'm assuming at this point that it is being pushed, but I don't know if I should even say what I heard was new date because it's so up in the air right now.
Yeah, it would never. Yeah, CRS is usually up in the air though. So
yeah.
AFSPC 7, and that's launching June 2020. Oh, sorry, that's NRO. Yeah, no, May 2020. AFSPC.
I will be there for that.
United Launch Alliance Rock. Yeah, X-37B OTV6. Okay. AFSPC 7. That's the name of the one. Because that makes sense. Air Force Space Project.
Don't. We've been drinking. Don't try it.
Don't try it. I don't know if I want to say what came to my words in my mind with the C. All right, final news story. Which we kind of talked about a little bit, but we have stacking.
Yeah.
Stacking of the Starship tank. Which I still can't imagine how big a Super Heavy is going to be.
I think it was Jack Beyer that actually had footage with like a scanner going, so you could actually hear them giving instructions to the crane operator.
Oh man,
Yes.
that's crazy.
Well,
Yes.
I need to find
I
that
saw
later.
them, but I didn't see them with the
Check-
audio. I just saw
Check
the
that out.
sound.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Jack Byer. Man, if it was somebody else, you can hear, cable up, or cable down. They're like just giving crane instructions. And,
Yeah.
And
that
props
was
to
pretty
Jack
cool.
for staying out there for like what, a week and a half, and then
Yeah.
he just got on the road to drive back to California after covering that stuff.
Mhm.
Props to him.
Oh yeah,
Just
sure.
sticking
That
around.
thing's so big.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, like, and they haven't even put the nose cone on yet. Like,
Yeah.
oh my
Are
god!
they gonna?
I love how it's like sitting there to the left, like, and it's just ominous. Like, this thing is going on top
Is that-
of this thing.
Yeah, is there the? Well, that's not their. They're not going to put that nose cone on. I don't think.
Maybe not that one, but something that size is still going to go.
Yeah,
up
I'm
on
not
top.
sure if they changed they changed how. Like I don't know. I don't remember what the tanks what they've changed. If the nose cone's going to be that much larger.
They're doing different internals now.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if that nose cone had a tank in it or not. No, it wouldn't have.
Just a monument to what could have been.
It couldn't have because they didn't do a test on it. So because they did the pressure test before, they didn't have that on there.
Well, I think in there it's not going to be any kind of larger pressure vessels like in the bottom.
Yeah, it might just be like little
giant things.
Little COPVs.
You can have little COPVs and things like that inside of it. You're not going to have anything massive, so you can probably rework the inside of it, and it'll be fine.
And of course, this is a video, which makes things all look so small. Imagine seeing this in real life. Like,
yeah. Oh man.
I have a buddy of mine who was there at the press conference in like October or November of last year, and he was telling me pictures do not do it justice. It is obnoxious when you stand next to it in real life. It's crazy.
Oh, I'm sure.
It really is.
Okay, there were two header tanks.
And then he took it right next to him.
So the nose cone might be a little shorter because Harry said that there was header tanks. I'm not sure if they put those in the what they have now, but I don't know. It looks so freaking big. Like it's just so big. And I can't. I know that's
just the Starship part. That's not super heavy at all. Super heavy is like twice as tall as the Starship itself. It's like, so this thing is going to be like 3 times taller than what we've seen.
Yeah, what's the size comparison between this and Saturn V?
Oh, Saturn V. It's
like taller.
Basically, it's a little bit taller.
Yeah, I know it's taller.
100. But it looks bigger because it doesn't, like, where Saturn V like tapered off as the stages went up, and this thing is just like, boom, I'm big.
223 feet.
I cannot wait to see the grid fins on that. Like, the grid fins on a Falcon 9 make a pretty big coffee table. These grid fins are going to be like a dining room table.
Dude, no way.
Somebody ever did that.
Bigger. I mean, well, the grid fins on a Falcon 9 are like bigger than a dining room table. Yeah, I mean, they're massive.
No, I'm speaking in reference to the one they like put at their headquarters as like a big coffee table in some lobby waiting area.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Not like a home coffee table. It's one of the corporate big old lobby area type of tables.
And the titanium ones are a little bit bigger. Am I right?
I believe so. Yeah.
And they got the teeth.
Oh,
grrr.
I love the teeth.
Someone give me
a. Harry says 119 meters. He thinks.
Jeez.
That's big.
Let's see. 118 meters. Starship is 50 meters tall, and Super Heavy is 68 meters tall. 118, and Saturn V was 111. Triple ones, I remember that one. Yeah. God. I can't wait to see that thing launch. I can't wait for it to blind us with the metal. Everyone just said, "Where's the rocket? It's over there by the other sun."
This one isn't as shiny though. This is the actual stainless steel that they developed now.
Yeah.
Yeah. This has more of a matte finish instead of a glossy finish.
No, it's still gonna be bright.
Polish it though.
Yeah. They still gotta polish it down to keep it from rusting though with WD-40.
Maybe from for later iterations. This is probably only going to do the 20-kilometer test.
And I don't think it's going to. I don't even think they're going to really even. They're not. I don't think that will survive either. The 20-kilometer? No, maybe it's
no, they can
re-entry.
try and land it.
Maybe it's their first type of testing landing. It's they're not gonna survive. I think that's
We'll
what when
see.
someone said, like, no, there's no way you're gonna survive that. But
Well,
it'll probably
I
end
mean,
up being
probably
like,
not, but they're gonna try to.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
it'd be like Falcon Heavy, the demo.
Yeah.
If we make it, what's success? If we make it above the tower, it's successful.
Yeah.
If we clear the tower, that's
bad
all we
we have.
want.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Meme?
Let's throw out some memes. Yeah, it's
Meme. I gotta
time.
find one. I have more memes in my bookmarks than news. And
Well, I got one. I know you warned me, and I saw something today that I just thought was funny. It's even really space related.
all right. Let me know.
But
Are you sharing your screen?
I will share my screen. And yeah,
Okay,
this
cool.
is something PETA put out.
Oh, that one. I saw
Is
that.
an anagram? Yeah, coronavirus is an anagram of carnivorous.
Oh Lord.
That's a stretch. I don't know about you, but that's a stretch to me.
That's PETA for you.
And look, and they even draw the lines for you. Look, that's a C.
Oh,
There's an
gosh.
O.
Way.
There's
Yo,
an
Jordan.
A.
Oh.
Thank you, guys. Scientists have a hunch that contact with live animals or their dead flesh may be the. Oh, their dead flesh. That's the key right there. You have
Oh.
contact with their dead flesh.
Oh.
Look, if you're vegan or vegetarian, look, I ain't got no judgment. But this.
Yes.
That was good. I just don't know which one to do. I might have to do two.
Tell you what. While you're looking around, Seth, I am going to bring up this. Not necessarily a meme. It's more of a fireback from. Hello there. It's Scott Manley here.
Oh.
And it's funny enough. If you can see on my screen, the admin turned off commenting. I got put in jail on this group only because the admin is one of those goofballs and we go back and forth with stuff all the time. So he banned me for 9 days, but it's all in good fun. He runs a bunch of these. Well, somebody was trying to outtalk Scott Manley, and I'll save you the details and everything like that. They're trying to go into facts and everything like that, and it ends with Scott Manley saying to the guy, "You know, there are places to look this up before trying to correct me." Like, don't sit there and try and own
Nice.
Scott Manley of all people. Hope you fly safe, buddy. Hope you're flying safe.
Yeah,
So-
I think he's a little more snarky on Twitter, and I like it.
Only when he needs to be, though.
Yeah.
To be. But it's whenever he is, it's pure gold.
Beautiful.
I love it.
Yeah.
Seth, you got something yet?
Okay, I'm going with this one.
All right, what you got?
It's one of my favorites. So, I don't have it. I'm not sharing my screen with you, am I?
Share the screen.
So, it is. You see it?
Blow this up.
Yeah, cool. You guys do see it. So it's an interview with an alien. He goes, why do you keep abducting and probing our people? And then the alien holds a picture out of I don't remember what it's called, but the plaque that was on,
it's the golden record.
The golden record plaque.
Nope.
And he goes, you sent us unsolicited nudes, a mixtape, and directions to your home.
I like it.
Yep. And
That's awesome.
that's pretty much what we did. We sent them unsolicited nudes and a mixtape, and then told us where to beat us up, pretty much.
I love it.
Yep. So all right, guys. I think that's gonna wrap it up for us tonight. What do y'all say?
Yeah. So, Stephen, do you have
I
something to
got
say?
a couple things. Yeah, a couple things to plug. One, we do Pressing for Flight, and this Thursday night, 10 o'clock Eastern Time, that's 3 a.m. UTC, Friday morning, we have Chris G coming on. That's NASA Spaceflight, Chris G. Yeah, we're super stoked. I asked him a couple weeks ago. He said that he was totally down. He even said that he has already listened to the show. That kind of blew my mind. But yeah, so last week he got back to me. He's like, yeah, let's do it the 27th, I think it is. Whatever this Thursday is. So that's Thursday night. Join us in the chat. Ask some questions. I've put out a couple feelers for some questions. One's on Twitter on the Pressing for Flight Twitter page, pressing #4 flight. Also, I have my print store, spacecoaststeve.com. So if you want any prints, go there. But also, I'm doing something for the first time Saturday after this one on the 7th. And so if anybody's local, I will be at the Jumps Tiny Tavern, which is on Taft in, I think it's considered Cape Canaveral. It's right on that line between Cape Canaveral and Cocoa Beach. But they're doing like an arts and crafts kind of fair type thing where, you can be a vendor and you can sell things. So I've got a bunch of prints made up and I'm
Oh,
going to be selling them face to face. So you can bring cash or you can bring your credit card because I now can accept Square.
Yes.
hey.
I've got
Nice.
Square, so I could do Visa, Mastercard, whatever. Yeah, so I'll have, and prints will be cheaper than they are on the website.
Ooh.
Nice.
So that'll
Out
be
of curiosity, what is your favorite medium to print on? Because I always plug my stuff on the metal prints in high gloss. What do you go for normally if you're getting something printed like for yourself?
well, honestly, all I've done so far is paper. I've
Mhm.
seen those metal prints, and now they have metallic print on paper, and that looks really cool. It's got like a nice sheen to it.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But man, those metal prints, they are pricey. Like even if you own the site, they're like for like an 8x10, it's like $50 or something. So or more. I don't know. Or maybe you could, enlighten me. Maybe there's some place I can go other than my own Smug Mug page. Uh,
I think I did like a 10 by 12. Was it 10
What
by?
did you say? How
No,
much it
10 by
was?
20.
I
10 by
thought it.
20 came out to 57 before the tax and shipping and everything like that.
Mm,
That's
well,
what I have mine set.
um, see, there's separate prices. Like if I'm logged into my Smug Mug, I have like the owner prices.
Right. Right.
Um, and I want to say that like the cheapest like printed on metal is like $50 or something like that. I could probably look it up and not speculate. Um, yeah, it's pricey, so I just haven't done it yet. Let's see. I think it's under wall art, right?
Yeah, wall art metal prints. Because
Yep,
I,
yep,
I
metal.
I got a number of them, and man, it is pricey, but hanging them all up together, I love them.
Yeah.
It
So
really is
12
great.
by 18, yeah, so 12 by 18 is over $50.
There's a fracture, just spelled out fractureme.com, and that's where I
Mhm.
looked at. It was someone sent me there from Declan's Discord, and it wasn't that bad. You can get like it wasn't horrible.
Okay.
I think their largest ones are around like 60 or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well,
but
maybe.
I did not like crazy huge. But you can get like a little like 8x8, I think, as well for like $17, I think. So if you just want to test out what it looks like on metal, you can just get like a small one.
Yeah, that's the thing. And actually, I've only recently got any photos that I'm like, bam, I feel like that is good that I would want to print because up until I don't know the last I don't know 4 to 6 months, it's been kind of learning and now I feel like I'm starting to get some that I really feel proud of, and so I would like to get a nice metal print of one of these for sure.
My Arab set launches pictures are probably the only ones that I would print. I think all the other streaks I have, I've bombed. I mean, I think my DM1, what I think is a DM1, maybe it was a CRS. That one's pretty good, but I still cut off my streak early because I was still learning how to do streaks. So,
Hmm.
hope and if I didn't mess up my freaking solar orbiter one, I would have printed that one in a heartbeat. That's my favorite one.
That was really not your fault.
No, it
No.
wasn't.
That was the signals and radio frequencies and stuff and things crisscrossing and you triggered
Yeah,
theirs and they untriggered yours and
It was.
oh man
it is weird.
that's brutal. But yeah, I screwed up my DM1 streak shot too, and it was either that I had the remote in my pocket and accidentally pressed the button which stopped the exposure, or someone else was on the same frequency as well.
When I
And they
start mine,
stopped the
I
exposure.
start it and I set it on the ground right next to the tripod and I leave it. I don't touch it.
Well,
I don't.
now I turn it off. I take the remote and I just turn it off once it's going.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I just leave it there and I don't touch it, and I'm just like, okay, stand back up, go back to my other camera, and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anything else you want to plug at all? No, that's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Follow me on Twitter, I guess. SpaceCoast_STVE.
Yeah. And I'll have all those links in the description. I'm Seth Kirk at Seth
and
Kirk.
Me now?
Yeah, you know.
Sorry, my bad. You kind of trailed off. And I am Daryl Sausse at Sausse Images on Twitter. You can search for me by my full name on YouTube. I have some lunch videos there. Plus, I'll be doing some more stuff soon. And you can find me by name on Facebook. Fair warning, it's a wild ride on Facebook.
All right.
Really
Thank you, everyone, for coming out to us live. Thank you for listening. Stephen, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely.
And hope to have on more guests soon. See ya. All right, everyone on the live stream, again, thank you for coming out. We're going to hop off, and we'll see you guys next week.
Later, y'all.